Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Sack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Pilta and Mishegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Pro said, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
And we're back. We're back. It's a 2 for Wednesday. It's a 2 for Wednesday on this Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. We had a morning on trial, and now we have an afternoon to catch up on some other cases and some other things that have been sitting on the back burner until we could get a break. Because I don't know about you, but as for me, after watching Lindsay Clancy's trial for a full day or even a half a day, I need to whip out the mat and get into child's pose for like a half an hour just to collect myself. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's important. But that's in the past right now for the morning. And then we go back again tomorrow morning. And today, we're going to look at some other things. First thing we're going to look at is the motion or the order on the motion to disqualify Robert Cosgrove that we didn't even know was a thing because the papers are hidden. And that's in the Karen Reed search warrant issue for her phone. And then I have the Matthew Farwell trial brief from the government. And if we have time after that, we have Bettero's letter that he wrote to the Atlantic City prosecutor in the new prosecution of Aidan Carney, aka Turtle Boy. So there's a lot. There's a lot here. It's a lot of reading. So get used to the sound of my voice. If you don't like the sound of my voice today, might not be the day for you. Might not be the day for you. What can I say? Oh, please. And if you find it too difficult and you cannot watch the Lindsay Clancy trial, I totally understand and totally sympathize with you, and no hard feelings at all. At all. Something that I talked about this morning that I happened to see last night that shook me to the core was Perez Hilton's TikTok live stream. Do not look for it unless you like gore and horror movies. But if anybody knows what I'm talking about, it was horrific. It was Perez Hilton live on TikTok, doing things to himself with a sharp implement, let's just say, covered. It was like a horror movie, but it was real. And it looked fake, and it wasn't fake. He was having a psychotic break, clearly covered in blood from head to toe. The wounds to himself, he had what looked like a very, very long bread knife, and he was taking it across his all over his entire body, totally naked. It was horrific. Then he invited some people on his TikTok, and these people, I don't know if they were his friends or if they were people that he just invited on. I don't know how TikTok Live works. It's not my thing. People called 911. The authorities in Miami-Dade County came. They were trying to de-escalate the situation. He was saying some some stuff. Like he was clearly in psychosis, saying that he wanted the police to take his life instead of him doing it himself. Eventually, after de-escalating the situation, I think he was barricaded in his house. They were able to get him into an ambulance, and I have now learned through TMZ that he's been hospitalized. Thank God he's okay. His children and his mother were not in the house with him. This was in Miami. This happened last night, like shortly before midnight. I was on it before TMZ was even on it. I mean, you know how TMZ is on this stuff, like white on rice. Like they are there, right? TMZ is usually there. I was watching this like an hour before TMZ even knew about it. It was crazy. It was crazy. The video is circulating on other socials. I don't know if they've taken it down from Twitter. But I'm just warning you that if you do go look for it and you click on it and it's still there, you cannot unsee it. You can't. So unless you have a really, really strong stomach and you enjoy like gory horror films, yeah, Iked Mel had it, and somebody else was on there. Pascal had it last night. I thought about going live, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I mean, I think the trolls are bad on Lindsay Clancy and Karen Reed. Like the amount of trolling that was going on in those channels last night, like people wishing him all kinds of horrible things, is just horrible. I don't know what has happened to kindness and normalcy in this world, but I don't know. I've only been on YouTube for 3 years, and I didn't really know that trolling was a thing. I didn't know there were such hateful, vitriolic people out there behind fake names, but lesson learned. And I hope that he gets the help he needs. Yeah, Pascal didn't show it. I don't think either one of them showed it, but they were covering it live as the news was breaking. And eventually he was on, Perez Hilton was on TikTok live for something like 34 minutes before TikTok took it down. And that is what, I mean, listen, every person is different, but that was clearly a psychotic break, clearly in real time. And it was scary as hell. Somebody pointed out that he had sepsis not too long ago. And then there's something called septic shock or something that could happen. Perez Hilton is a celebrity gossip. He's been around for years and years and years and years and years. Some people call him a blogger. I just call him like a celebrity gossip, I would say. But he's been around for a long time. He was also subpoenaed to testify in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing. And I think that kind of threw him for a loop, people are saying. I don't really know. I'm not inside his head, so I don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, he was hospitalized for 21 days for sepsis. And somebody says, sometimes I believe demons are real. Did you watch that video? Hello? Hello, hello? Yeah, don't watch it. But I just thought it was worth addressing because mental health is real. And it is frightening to see it live. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but my chat has frozen. My chat has frozen. Right. And him talking throughout the whole thing made it even worse. And the way that when he was doing these things, it was like he said it felt good. It was just so many things. So horrific about it. I don't know why StreamYard is screwing up right now, but I can only see your comments on my phone and not on my screen. It is what it is. He kind of was TMZ before TMZ, right? Yeah. I know. He found God recently. A lot of things. Rabbit hole I don't want to fall into, but I kind of did. Fall into it a little bit. All right. On that note, let's you know what? We since we didn't stream for a couple of days, we have some motivational quotes from other days that we didn't look at yet. So let's see what we can dig up here in the motivational daily calendar, because God knows we need it. All right, today's Thursday. So I think we did not stream on Sunday. We can read Sunday's motivational quote. I can also reread you the one from this morning. Jessica Herron, I don't know who that is. Jessica Herron, Herrin, said, "You have to see failure as the beginning and the middle, but never entertain it as an end." Oh, I like that. You have to see failure as the beginning and the middle, but never entertain it as an end. Jessica Herron. This is Sunday's motivational quote. Today's Wednesday, sorry. I don't know. And, on these trial days when we're here for 8 hours at a time, you forget what day it is after a while. It's only Wednesday. It's only half a day of court today too, which screws me up as well. And today's badass affirmation, we read this one this morning, but I think it's so good that we need to read it again. You will get there. You're going to do great today. You will get there. You're going to do great today. You're going to do great today. You will get there. Maybe that's for Perez Hilton. StreamYard, you're really messing with my head. Is what it is, I guess. Guess we got to suffer through. All right. First thing up is the, let us go to the decision and order on Karen Reed's motion to disqualify Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove. First up, remember, we watched a hearing. I don't know what day it was at this point. We watched a hearing on this. Let's see. All over his entire body. It was all over his whole entire body. When was this phone hearing? It was a while ago now, 2 weeks ago. I don't exactly recall at this moment. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, via the Massachusetts State Police, I think it was Tully who showed up at Karen's door to seize 2 more of her cell phones in January of 2024. January of 2024. They've had her phones for 2.5 years, her second set of phones. They had seized her phones on the day of her arrest, January. Well, no, actually on the day that they seized her car, January 29th of 2022, they took her first cell phone. And then 2 years later, in 2024, they got a seizure warrant and they seized 2 more of her cell phones. Because at that time, in January of 2024, they were really trying to indict Karen Reed and Aidan Carney together for conspiracy to commit witness intimidation. Saul Walkler, who was the Chief Justice of the state of New York, once famously said that a good prosecutor could get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. Well, what had happened was they did convene a grand jury in the spring of 2024, and that grand jury did not indict the ham sandwich of Karen Reed and Aidan Carney. And what they had at that time, they had Karen Reed's phones because they took them, and there's body cam footage. It's out there. Since January, they had a warrant to seize the phones, but they never had a warrant to search the phones. When Karen Reed was acquitted, praise be, maybe we need to put up the Handmaid's Tale rubber ducky, because if you know, you know. When Karen Reed was acquitted in July of 2025, sometime thereafter, I think it was a couple months maybe thereafter. Hold on, where's our Handmaid's Tale rubber duck? There she is. It's right up there in the corner. When the trial was over and Karen Reed was acquitted, she hired another lawyer, a local attorney, to make a motion to get her property back. She wanted her car back. They still had her Lexus. She wanted her phones back. And this fight to get these phones back has been going on for 2.5 years. There initially was an order that said that she should get her property back. And there's been a lot of litigation about this. But the bottom line is the Commonwealth still has Karen Reed's phones. And a couple months ago, I think it was, I don't remember, Krupp, Doolin, there's been a lot of judges on this, said, I'm going to order the release of Karen Reed's phones. They don't have a right to hang on to them, but I'm going to allow the Commonwealth to hang on to the phones in the event that they want to appeal. And as I told you at that time, and that was all the way back in, I don't know why I want to say February, they have 30 days to file a notice of appeal. We don't know if they ever filed a notice of appeal, or we didn't know until the day this order came out, which was, I think, yesterday. Because as you see right here, this docket number is 2482 SW0004. This is not a regular docket number for a criminal case. This is a search warrant docket number, and these are not searchable, and they're not available, and you just can't get them. So thanks to Kyle Sharkey for sending me this order, because you just can't get it through the mass courts system. And so none of the papers that have been filed unless they are eventually released, like this one was to me, are available or searchable. It's just like a hidden secret number. It's like a hidden secret docket number. But this is in Norfolk County, as you can see. And somehow, and I said this when we were going over all of the invoices for Cosgrove, I said, how much are they paying Cosgrove? And when did they hire Cosgrove to persecute this issue of Karen Reed and Karen Reed's phones? Because the only thing we knew that Cosgrove had been hired for, Robert Cosgrove, was he was hired as special prosecutor for Aiden Carney, aka Turtle Boy, because Michael Morrissey has a conflict, and so they had to hire Robert Cosgrove. Robert Cosgrove is a retired Norfolk Superior Court judge. Howie Carr calls him Triple Dip Cosgrove because he's receiving 3 pensions or 3 streams of income. I think he's got a pension from when he was a DA. I think he's got a pension from when he was a judge, and I think now he's on the payroll again as special prosecutor for Aiden Carney. But we didn't know that he was ever hired to specially prosecute Karen Reed, because why would he be? There doesn't seem to be a conflict with the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, so why didn't they just give it to Lally or Greg Connor or someone in the office who's on staff? Why are they paying an outside attorney? And so whenever this hearing was that we watched last, we watched the hearing with Judge Doolin, and we watched Alan Jackson came to town for this one. Alan Jackson argued about disqualifying Cosgrove. And I'm thinking, and I said to you in real time, we didn't even know there was a motion to disqualify Cosgrove because the papers aren't available. And so it was Alan Jackson and Robert Cosgrove arguing in front of Judge Doolin. And the order dropped yesterday while we were neck deep in Lindsay Clancy coverage. And so here it is, the memorandum of decision and order on Karen Reed's motion to disqualify Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove. So there is a motion out there. I just don't have the papers, so I don't know what the arguments were. So we're going to have to use our spidey senses and our context clues to try and figure out what the arguments were. But we heard Alan Jackson in court say, and we went back and watched the tape, that Cosgrove said at one of the other hearings, I have to go talk to the DA's office so that we can decide whether or not we are going to appeal, and we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we can do that. And I said to you, I said, if there's a conflict, then Cosgrove should not be talking to Marcy's office at all, right? If there's a conflict, you have to build a wall. They used to call it a Chinese wall when I was in law school. I'm sure that's not appropriate anymore. But the special prosecutor, if there's a conflict, is not supposed to be having powwows with the district attorney who's conflicted out of the case. And so it made no sense to me. Then again, we're in the upside down, inside out Narnia. That is Norfolk County, Massachusetts, or Norfolk County, as I started calling it, and I will allow it. Hold, please. And so here's the memorandum of decision and order on Karen Reed's motion to disqualify Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove. The Commonwealth, and this is in the voice of Judge Doolin, the Commonwealth, represented by Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove, sought approval of a taint team protocol to search Karen Reed's 2 Apple iPhones in preparation for seeking a search warrant to authorize the search of data in those phones. It is not your eyes. This is indeed blurry because it's a JPEG. It's not a PDF. It's not you, it's the document. The court denied that motion, and in response to a subsequent motion for return of the property, ordered return of the phones pending appeal. The matter having been appealed, so the Commonwealth is actually appealing this. They're actually appealing this. Why? Why are they pumping so much money into trying to search Karen Reed's phones? The matter having been appealed, the phones still remain in the Commonwealth's possession. Like, really? Why would they appeal this? Why? Many people think It's because maybe, just maybe, they've already searched Karen Reed's phones and they don't want her attorneys and their experts to get a hold of the phones, because then they will know that they've already searched Karen Reed's phones. Because remember, they don't have a warrant to search. They only had a warrant to seize. And it says right here, Cosgrove was seeking approval of a taint team to search them. A taint team is hired when there's certain things in there that shouldn't be seen by people, like things that are privileged, like attorney-client privilege, and things such as like that. So he was looking for a taint team, claiming we didn't search the phones yet. We still need to, before we can seek a search warrant to search the phones, we have to agree on a taint team protocol. What are we doing here? She was acquitted. What do you think is going to be in those phones? Is it just like they're just like Chloe with a bone, like they can't let this thing go because they're so afraid of all the stuff that's going to come out with the corruption? Why are they holding on to this? The grand jury failed to indict. I guess they could go back to a grand jury again if they find something, but they're not going to find anything. Aidan Carney's total phone extraction is out there. It is out there. It's been leaked. Maybe it was stolen. Maybe he gave it to someone. He says somebody hacked him and took it, I think, and then released it to the public. It's all over the internet. All communications between Karen and Aidan, including signal messages, are in there. And so if there was anything in there, it's already out there. And so it just doesn't make any sense to me. Then again, my head has popped off and spun around more times than I care to admit in this case. So the Commonwealth has appealed it, and so the phones are going to remain in the Commonwealth's possession. Remember also that the O'Keefes are trying to get these phones too. The O'Keefes really, 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 really want the phones. And so the O'Keefes should kind of be mad because they want the phones. Hold on one second. And they can't get the phones because Judge Doolin's not going to release the phones. But the agreement is that if and when the phones are released, they're going to go to an expert. Karen's not even going to get to touch them, but they really, really want them for the wrongful death lawsuit against Karen. So they're probably mad too about this appeal because they want the phones for their own expert. Ms. Reed now moves to disqualify Special Prosecutor Cosgrove from the matter. She contends that Special Prosecutor Cosgrove has failed to exercise his duty of impartiality and violated Massachusetts conflict of interest laws by taking direction from a conflicted agency, the Norfolk County DA's office. However, it is Ms. Reed's, quote, burden to prove an actual conflict of interest by presenting, quote, demonstrative proof detailing both the existence and the precise character of this alleged conflict of interest, end quote. Citing, well, why does it say citation omitted here, first of all? But then it says Commonwealth versus State, which is a 2010 case. So he's saying, you're not giving me enough proof that there's an alleged conflict of interest here. Ms. Reed has not demonstrated to the court that the Norfolk DA's office is a conflicted agency in the present matter, and therefore there is no basis to disqualify Special Prosecutor Cosgrove based on his interactions with the Norfolk DA's office. Footnote 1, which reads, contrary to Ms. Reed's argument, District Attorney Marcy does not appear to be an alleged victim in either of Mr. Carney's active criminal cases. See the two criminal actions with these docket numbers. Nor is this court aware of any closed criminal action where this was the case, to the extent that Reed argues that the use of the, hang on, I gotta go to the next page. It's a whole thing. Even if Karen Reed says that the use of the special prosecutor necessarily means that a conflict exists, that's what I would say. Why would there be a special prosecutor if there was no conflict? Why are the taxpayers paying for Cosgrove? Such a statement is insufficient to carry her burden. Citing a case called Stoughton from 2018, court will not infer a conflict based on mere conjecture or speculation. I'm in the Twilight Zone. I think I'm in the Twilight Zone. I'm pretty sure I am. And I thought Doolin was going to do the right thing, but this doesn't make sense to me because even if there's an appearance of impropriety, it's usually the standard. But look at Friended Dog gifting 10 memberships. You're amazing. Thank you so much. And to the 10 lucky random winners, welcome. Even if the Norfolk DA's office is a conflicted agency in matters pertaining to Ms. Reed, she has failed to demonstrate that Special Prosecutor Cosgrove has not acted independently in deciding how to proceed in the matter at hand. Should they have played the tape for the court? Moreover, the court credits Special Prosecutor Cosgrove's affidavit in which he states that he has, quote, never received instruction or urging from the DA or his staff as to what course of action to take relative to the seizure of Karen Reed's 2 telephones, end quote. That the decisions regarding Ms. Reed's phones have all been his own, and that following his meeting with the Norfolk DA's office where he presented possible courses of action he had considered, he told members of the Norfolk DA's office what he decided to do and proceeded accordingly. Affidavit of Robert Cosgrove at paragraphs 8 and 9. Well, I don't have that, so I can't opine on it without the papers. So I really can't give you my opinion on this because I haven't read the motion papers because they're not available because nobody out there wants you to see them. Accordingly, there's no basis for his disqualification. So it's like Ipsy Dixit because Cosgrove said so. Order. For the foregoing reasons, it is hereby ordered that Karen Reed's motion to disqualify Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove is denied. XOXO. Michael P. Doolin, Justice of the Supreme Court. And so here it is. I guess they're going to hold on to Karen Reed's phones until kingdom come. And if I were the O'Keefes, I'd be pretty mad about it because they can't get their hands on the phone either. Or phones. There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. I mean, I don't know. Here we are with another decision that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but without seeing the underlying papers, it's hard to opine on it. Cosgrove did say in open court that he needed to decide what he was going to do with the DA, but now Judge Doolin is saying, but there's no conflict because Karen Reed hasn't proven a conflict with enough facts to give him the indication that it is a conflict and that Cosgrove submitted an affidavit that said something that apparently does not indicate that there's a conflict. But Norfolk County residents, this is what your dollars are going to. I don't know what the final tally is on how much they've paid Robert Cosgrove so far to prosecute not only Aiden Carney, but also now Karen Reed, or at least to try and get her phones. But if there's no conflict, why does he have it? Why didn't it just go to somebody on staff? They've got, I don't know how many lawyers on salary in the Norfolk County DA's office. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Well, they did appeal right away. The problem is we didn't know about it because we can't see the papers. So if they had to file a notice of appeal within 30 days, that must have been filed because in page 1 of this order, that's what the court says. We just didn't know about it. The only people who would know about it are Karen Reed's team because they would have to serve it on her team. Can't find the docket. You can't find the filings. You can't find the papers. Everything's hidden. Nobody wants you to know about it. And yeah, to say the least, something doesn't smell right. 41 attorneys in the Norfolk DA's office. They couldn't give it to Greg Connor. They couldn't give it to Adam Lally. They couldn't give it to Laura McLaughlin. Why did Cosgrove have to be involved in this? Hank Brennan was a special prosecutor hired to prosecute Karen Reed's second trial. He was second and third chaired by Lally and McLaughlin, although they didn't say or do much. He was hired because they needed a mob lawyer. There was no conflict. I don't know why Greg Connor wouldn't try the case. He's supposed to be the top dog in that office, right? And he's running for district attorney. He wants Michael Marcy's job now really bad. Adam Deitch is going to give him a run for his money, I think. I agree, Allie. We all heard and watched it. But even if he did speak to Michael Marcy's office, because he says he did in his affidavit, Judge Doolin doesn't think it's a problem. Because Cosgrove said, he said, all the decisions regarding Miss Reed's phones have been my own, and that following my meeting with Michael Marcy, I presented the possible courses of action, and I told them what I was going to do, and I did it. So he's keeping them apprised. He's saying, I didn't really consult with them. I just told them what I was going to do. They didn't chime in. I mean, you can't use it as a shield and a sword. You can't say there's no conflict, and so he's not really a special prosecutor, and he's allowed to talk to the DA, and then say, well, there is but I'm not consulting with them. I'm just telling them what I'm doing. But I wouldn't consult with them because, of course, there's a conflict. And so it just doesn't matter. Yeah, Clancy is done. Clancy was done at about 12:30. This is show number 2. Welcome. Welcome. Back on trial tomorrow for a full day, and I think Friday is going to be a full day. And so I don't know what to make of this, except for more shenanigans, more tomfoolery, and more ballyhoo. Same shit, different day, basically, right? So there's that. They must have. Well, that's the thing, Carrie, because they've been paying them a lot of money. I don't know. Somebody's got the ledgers there probably. They've been paying Cosgrove a lot of money. I don't know what they've paid him to date in 2026, but last time we looked, it was like 10,000 or more. Carrie said, did the DA's office hire Cosgrove to investigate and prosecute Karen? They must have. There must be a contract out there. The thing is, when you have a special prosecutor's contract because of attorney-client privilege and litigation privilege, the case name or the defendant name is not on the contract, so we don't really know. We know that they've been paying him, but we really don't know what for. Can they appeal this? Will they appeal this? Will they spend the money appealing this? All questions I don't know the answer to. This is not, I mean, I guess it's a final order. The Commonwealth has appealed the having to return the phones part. It's just, it's twisted. It's weird. It's unlike anywhere else. And it's just typical for where we find ourselves to be. What say you? Jacqueline says, I'm not even sure how old Cosgrove is, but if he is over full retirement age, he is also collecting Social Security. Does that make him a quadradip? Well done. Well done. Becky says, fighting the machine is an uphill battle. Gross all around. I agree. I don't know. Tina says, I'm still confused. How did Cosgrove get anything to do with Karen Reed's phones? Did he just assign himself as special prosecutor at Karen Reed's phone? There must have been some sort of contract agreement, conversation with Michael Marcy about it. He's getting paid for it. So your guess is as good as mine. Laura had high hopes for Judge Doolin. Yeah, Cooper says, elect a new DA and let him expose it all. I think Adam Deitch is the guy to do that. Remember, though, the election is September 1st, which is less than 1 month from now. So if you're in Norfolk County, you have to be a registered Democrat, I think, or an independent maybe, to vote in the primary. And since Massachusetts is mostly like a one-party state, whoever wins the primary, I think, is going to win again, effing again. Right. Emily C says, it's like in The Office when Pam made herself the office manager by just starting to do it. That's kind of what it's like. It's exactly what it's like. There's no way that Cosgrove is 64 or 65 MPV. There's no way. There's no way. He's at least 10 years older than that. Kevin Reddington is 75. Mandatory retirement is 70. So maybe he retired when he was 70 from being a judge. Maybe that's why he retired. And now he's like pushing 80. I don't know. I really don't know, but he's definitely not 64 or 65. I refuse to believe that he's only a couple years older than I am. No way. No way. No way, girl. I refuse to believe it. All right, enough of that. Just we're still here. We're still in Narnia, and that's really that's about it. That's about all I could say on that. I thought the appearance of a conflict was a conflict, but then again, I practice in New York, different jurisdiction, different rules, different everything. Be in Trouble says they want Karen to lose the civil suit so they can say that she was guilty all along. Oh, Mary says, Norfolk County DA candidates forum tomorrow night at Braintree Town Hall. All right, everybody get out. Get out there. Go listen. Go listen. A lot of people think they won't rule against Cosgrove because he's a former judge. And so they're showing him like some sort of like, judicial courtesy. I don't know what to think anymore. Really, I don't know what to think anymore at all about any of this because it just keeps on keeping on. Like, I don't think anything's ever going to change. You guys, really, you need to get rid of the old guard and in with the new. You're letting the fox guard the hen house right now. You're letting the fox guard the hen house in Norfolk County. And what you need to do is you need to get Adam Deitch in office or nothing is ever going to change. Greg Connor is going to be the same old, same old. Emily's going to be there tomorrow and Boozy Beauty too. That's an all-star cast right there. And Britt says, this is the kind of movie I want to fast forward and just see the end. It's maddening, all the stuff that makes no sense. Well, here's the other thing. This alleged, this Netflix thing, I heard some buzz, and I don't know for sure, but I heard some buzz out there on the YouTube streets that this Netflix documentary that is very pro McCabe and Albert, that they all participated in, and Kate Peter participated in, and other people over there participated in, is going to be released somewhere around November. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's going to be interesting to see. The Gretchen Voss one, right? Gretchen Voss's article that we read and laughed about, that I think she's involved in that too. So that should be interesting, unless anybody knows. Hi, Jomar. She says I'm hilarious and completely correct. Been working and lurking on both streams. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for letting me entertain you while you're working. But Lindsay Clancy's trial is not something that has been a lot of laughs. I got to tell you that. Listen, I try and when we get lemons, we try and make some lemon pound cake or some lemonade or motions in lemonade. Not a lot of laughs happening during the Lindsay Clancy trial. I try and make a joke every now and then when I think we can do it safely, but it's just sad and tragic and horrific all along. All around. And the trolls are out in full force. Full force. You think these streams are bad? Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. Poor mods. Their fingers are they must be getting arthritis in their fingers from the constant, the vitriol. It's crazy. It's so crazy. If you're not watching the trial, that's one thing you're missing. Let's turn our attention now to the United States of America versus Matthew Farwell. For those of you who are not familiar with Matthew Farwell's case, there are extensive show notes below this video that I've made just for you. There's a summary there, and I will read it to you in case you're not familiar. Cosgrove was the judge for the Salem witch trials. Oh, I love it when you guys make me laugh. Thank you, David Reese. I needed that. And remember where they took the Salem witches to hang them? Do you remember? Proctor's Ledge. It's true. 1692. Proctor's Ledge is where they took the witches to hang them. We did a whole show on that one day. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. The United States of America versus Matthew Farwell. Former Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer Matthew Farwell was federally indicted in August of 2024 in the February 1st of 2021 death of 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore and later her unborn child, whose death was ruled a suicide by MSP until a federal investigation revealed otherwise. That's right. Matthew Farwell was not arrested until after Karen Reed's first trial, after the mistrial, because I don't know if the FBI was already here. I don't know if they were, investigating the DA's office, investigating the MSP, investigating the investigation of John O'Keefe, investigating Matthew Farwell. We don't know, but we do know, and we remember the day that Matthew Farwell got those brand new silver bracelets all the way back in August of 2024. It is alleged that Farwell met Birchmore when she was 12 years old as part of a Young Explorers program for children run by the police department. The story became more repulsive and culminates in her pregnancy and staged suicide. Did the federal investigation reveal new information, or did the MSP and Canton PD have the evidence all along? And then I have linked for you below the playlist on Sandra Birchmore, and some other things. The Canton PD investigation on Sandra Birchmore, because Sandra Birchmore lived in Canton. Her body was found in Canton. She was, there was a ligature that had been wrapped around a doorknob. She was sitting on the floor. So much evidence was missed. Matthew Farwell was quickly cleared by John Fanning in a car, in a patrol car, in a parking lot somewhere. Trust me, bro. Quickly cleared. And they quickly closed that case, called it a suicide, and put it in a drawer. But the people who want justice for Sandra Birchmore didn't shut up. And somehow the feds got involved, and now they've indicted him on federal murder charges, which are more difficult to prove than state murder charges, because you have to have a federal nexus. And I'm sure they thought, once that they indicted Matthew Farwell on federal charges, that surely the Norfolk County DA would convene a grand jury to indict him on state murder charges, but they never did. That, to me, is one of the great mysteries of this case. And if that in and of itself doesn't tell you that there's corruption in that office and perhaps the Massachusetts State Police in general, then I don't know a more compelling argument for corruption. How could they sit back and not file state murder charges against Matthew Farwell when they've had all of this evidence since the beginning? And the United States' trial brief is going to tell us even more. And this is a cold read for me. So I'm not aware of everything that's in here. I heard you guys buzzing about it, and I heard that Grant Smith Ellis did a stream on it, and I don't exactly know what's in here. So this is going to be a cold read. It's 49 pages, double space. We might skim through some of it. We've read longer. But this is the United States' trial brief in the matter of the USA versus Matthew Farwell. The United States of America submits this brief summarizing the government's case in chief, the elements of the offenses charged in the indictment, certain anticipated legal issues, and the testimony of certain government witnesses. Introduction. This will be a good summary for those of you not familiar with the case, because this is wild. The defendant, Matthew Farwell, is charged in the superseding indictment with killing Sandra Birchmore with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation, and with the intent to prevent the communication by any person to a law enforcement officer of information relating to the commission or possible commission of a federal offense in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1512A1C. That is why this is difficult, because the federal government doesn't just have to prove that Matthew Farwell did it. They have to prove that he did it because Sandra Birchmore was going to report him for committing a federal offense. You see how that is much more difficult and not a guarantee? He is also charged with engaging in conduct that violated 18 U.S.C. 1512 and thereby causing the death of Birchmore's child in utero at the time the conduct took place in violation of these other sections of the U.S. Code. And if you're curious, you can Google these to satisfy your curiosity. The government expects to call approximately 50 witnesses in its case in chief, including law enforcement witnesses, civilians, and 12 experts. The government may call additional witnesses depending on cross-examination and any witnesses called by the defense. The government expects the trial to last approximately 20 trial days. So that's a lot shorter. It's about half the time that they expect Lindsay Clancy's trial to go. And Lindsay Clancy's witness list had 200 names on it. Again, this will be in federal court, and so there are never any cameras in federal court, and so we won't get to see it. If you want to see it, you're going to have to go there and watch it in person. Legal elements of the charged offenses. Count 1, killing a witness or victim. And this is the federal nexus. She has to be a witness or a victim under federal law. As to count 1, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that first, on February 1st, 2021, the defendant killed Sandra Birchmore with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation. And second, that the defendant did so with the intent to prevent a communication about the commission or possible commission of a federal offense, to wit, deprivation of rights under color of law, coercion and enticement, or wire fraud to a federal law enforcement officer. The government need not prove that the defendant or Sandra Birchmore had federal law enforcement in mind, but the government must show that there was a reasonable likelihood that a relevant communication, had it actually occurred, would have been made to a federal law enforcement officer. Footnote 1, citing some case law and jury instructions. If convicted of this offense, the defendant faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Count 2, protection of unborn child. As to count 2, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that first, the defendant engaged in conduct that violated Title 18 U.S. Code 1512A1C, as that crime is alleged in count 1. And second, that the defendant caused the death of a child in utero at the time such conduct took place. We all know that Sandra Birchmore was pregnant at the time. Footnote 2, citing the code. The term unborn child means a child in utero. The terms child in utero or child who is in utero mean a member of the species Homo sapiens at any stage of development who is carried in the womb. The government does not have to prove that the defendant had knowledge or should have had knowledge that the alleged victim of the offense, as alleged in count 1, was pregnant. Nor does the government have to prove that the defendant intended to cause the death of the unborn child. Footnote 3, citing another section of the U.S. Code. Procedural history. And this is where the Canton PD comes in, and the MSP. On February 4th of 2021, members of the Canton Police Department found 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore deceased in the bedroom of her apartment. Following a brief state police investigation, state law enforcement and the Massachusetts Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, OCME, concluded that Birchmore died by suicide. Beginning in or around 2023, the FBI initiated an investigation into Birchmore's death. Okay, now they're telling us everything. The FBI started investigating Birchmore's death in 2023. Coincidentally, right around the same time that Aiden Turtleboy Carney started reporting on the Karen Reed investigation. They found her on the 4th, and they're saying that her death was on the 1st. So she was not found until 3 days after the murder. During that investigation in 2023, agents interviewed additional witnesses, examined the forensic evidence, and reviewed voluminous electronic communications between Birchmore and Farwell, much of which had not been examined during the brief state police investigation, right? Guarino missed it. Guarino missed it. On August 27th, 2024, a federal grand jury returned an indictment charging Farwell with killing a victim or witness, for murdering Birchmore on February 1st, 2021, to prevent her from communicating to law enforcement information about his historical sexual exploitation of Birchmore and other federal crimes, right? He took her virginity at 15. There's communications about it. And that's the theory. Now, remember, if it was state charges, they wouldn't have to prove the second part. They would just have to prove that he's the one who did it. Not that she was going to go to federal authorities about this sexual exploitation part. On October 28th of 2025, the grand jury returned the superseding indictment. So a superseding indictment takes the place of the original indictment and now is the one that stands in its place, which includes the original charge, as well as one count of protection of unborn children. So they added the death of her unborn, the murder of her unborn child in October of 2025. This count is based on Farwell's killing of the fetus Birchmore is carrying in utero at the time of the murder. Statement of facts. Try and save your questions for later because you might have some really good comments and questions, but I just can't see them right now because I'm reading to you. Farwell murdered Birchmore, Roman 1. A. Hooded and masked Farwell was the last person to see Birchmore alive. On February 1, 2021 at 9:08 p.m. in the middle of a blizzard and less than 12 hours before his wife's scheduled C-section, Farwell sent Birchmore a text asking if he could come by for a second. Oh, they're telling us more. That's right. His wife was in labor, or she had a scheduled C-section. And while she was in the hospital, I think, is when he was taking Sandra Birchmore's life. At 9:10 p.m., Birchmore responded that he was welcome to visit and that the door to her apartment would be open. At 9:37 p.m., Birchmore's cell phone locked for the final time, never to be unlocked again. As depicted in video surveillance footage, Farwell entered Birchmore's apartment building at 9:14:56 p.m. He was wearing a dark-colored hoodie with the hood covering most of his head and a surgical mask, an item that many witnesses have said he strongly resisted wearing during the C-19 panty. As he walked through the building's small lobby, Farwell avoided looking in the direction of the ceiling-mounted surveillance camera. Right, he was Stoughton PD. He knew where the cameras were. He knew not to look towards them because he knew what he was going to do. But again, innocent until proven guilty, as always. After Farwell entered the apartment building, Birchmore's phone never sent another message. At 9:18:03 p.m., Birchmore's phone captured a locked screenshot. At 9:24 p.m., about 10 minutes after Farwell arrived, Birchmore received a text message that, like all other subsequent messages, remain unread. At 9:19 p.m., with Farwell still in the apartment, Birchmore's phone recorded 8 steps and never unlocked or moved again until law enforcement found her dead body days later. At 9:33 p.m., more than 3 minutes after Birchmore's phone recorded its last movement data, video surveillance footage shows Farwell leaving Birchmore's apartment just 29 minutes after he arrived. Wow. It only took him 29 minutes to do what he did, allegedly. The footage shows Farwell wearing the hood and surgical mask, and he again avoided looking in the direction of the camera as he walked briskly toward the exit. B. Canton police officers found Birchmore body 3 days later. On the morning of February 4th, 2021, Birchmore did not show up for work as a teacher's aide at Sharon Elementary School. Birchmore's co-workers contacted a school resource officer who called the Canton PD to ask officers to conduct a well-being check. Canton police officers went to Birchmore's apartment complex where they observed that Birchmore's car was still covered in snow from the snowstorm that hit the area on February 1st. Officers asked one of the property manager's employees to call Birchmore, and when Birchmore failed to answer, they obtained a key and decided to inspect Birchmore's apartment. Once inside Birchmore's bedroom, police found Birchmore in a fully seated and partially reclined position under a closet door handle. A duffel bag strap, here and after the ligature, was wrapped around her neck and affixed tightly to the closet door handle. Birchmore's cell phone was face down, several inches away from her right hand. At the time, Birchmore was approximately 8 to 10 weeks pregnant. Crime scene photos depict, but responding law enforcement officers did not collect, a necklace that was broken on the front of Birchmore's body. Remember, we also learned in some prior motions that were made by the federal government that Farwell's DNA was all over the ligature and that his DNA and another unknown DNA was found in her underwear. And I said to you at the time, oh, do you think he went in there for one last kiss before he took her life and before his next child was born? My eyes started to twitch as I even thought that thought. State police troopers from the Norfolk County Crime Prevention and Control Unit, also known as the Norfolk CPAC, responded to the scene and took crime scene photographs. At least they called the right agency to do that. Birchmore's body was transported to the OCME that same day prior to any autopsy. Prior to any autopsy or examination of Birchmore's electronic devices, the OCME received information from members of the state police, that would be the MSP and Canton Police, concluding that Birchmore died by taking her own life. Prior to any autopsy. Nevertheless, in the 24 hours following Birchmore's death, multiple witnesses called the Norfolk CPAC, reporting that Birchmore was in a sexual relationship with Farwell, a married Stoughton police detective, and she could not have died by taking her own life. You wonder how things like this could happen when you read things like this. And it makes you wonder if these law enforcement officers have been covering for each other for decades, like people in Massachusetts will tell you they have been. Yes, that is true. Dr. Michael Bodden, who is a very famous forensic pathologist, I believe that's what his title is. I think he testified in OJ. Like he's like been around forever, and he's very well, highly regarded. Is also Linda Kenny Bodden's husband. Sandra Birchmore's family hired him to do an independent autopsy, right? Not just review the records. I think he did an independent autopsy, and he said that this was not a taking of one's own life. On February 6th of 2021, an employee of the apartment complex where Birchmore was living told state police investigators that while reviewing the video surveillance footage from February 1st, he observed a person he did not recognize. The footage shows that person arrive at the building at approximately 9:14 p.m. Local and state police investigators identified the man as Matthew Farwell. Oh, he was identified right away. After making that identification, the then-led state police trooper called a state police sergeant who assumed the position of lead investigator going forward. Was that Fanning? Are they going to tell us his name? Are they going to name him? Remind me if I'm having false memories of this, but was Fanning also a Stoughton police officer at one time before he was MSP? Or was he just from Stoughton? It's also where Robert Devine was. Robert Devine also may have had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. Matthew Farwell's twin brother, Billy, we think also had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. We also have been over the civil case filed against them. There's also a man named Joshua Heel, who I believe worked at, I don't know if it was animal control, who also had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. And there, at one time, there was an article on it. I remember reading it on the stream where it was said, I don't know if it was Boston Globe or somewhere else, that Sandra Birchmore was passed around like a doll among these people. Fanning was former Stoughton PD. Thank you. It's hard to remember everything. Yuri was also from Stoughton. See how this is all very incestuous and very connected? And Jenny used to work with Josh Heel. Okay. Let's keep going because they may tell us all this in the papers. As you can tell, I haven't read them yet. Within approximately 1 hour, the state police sergeant who had formerly served, it's right there, who had formerly served as a Stoughton police officer and the former lead state police investigator, interviewed Farwell in the parking lot of a Stoughton elementary school. Yep, it was Fanning. While the state police declined to record the interview with Farwell because, of course, a person who they then knew was reported to have been a sexual partner of Birchmore's and the last person to see her alive. Reports indicate that Farwell eventually confirmed that he had been at the apartment on the evening of February 1st. He admitted it. Farwell also told the state police that he had been in a sexual relationship with Birchmore, but falsely added that he had only had relations with her 2 or 3 times and that their S-type relationship began in 2020. I don't want to push it with YouTube and the words that it began in 2020. Digital evidence shows that in reality, Farwell had engaged in countless encounters with Birchmore dating back to 2013 when she was just 15 years old. 2013 when she was 15 years old. Yes, he took her virginity at 15. They discussed it in their text messages. And oftentimes his fantasy was for her to do things like pretend she was a little girl. It's gross. It's horrific. It's all in there. He said he was at the apartment, but he only did it with her 2 or 3 times and that the relationship began in 2020. Even though in all of the communications, clearly it is talked about between them that the first time was 2013 when she was 15. 3 days later, the state police investigators asked Farwell if he would consent to a search of his personal phone. Farwell declined to permit the state police to conduct a comprehensive search of his phone. Instead, he agreed to allow investigators to search for text messages between him and Birchmore. However, according to the state police, Farwell had already told them that he had deleted those messages. Went to the Michael Proctor School of, or the Brian Higgins and Brian Albert School of deleting, destroying, auto-delete. Therefore, not surprisingly, the state police's subsequent search for these messages on Farwell's phone yielded no results. Okay, so that's interesting because Guarino is the one who everyone says missed those text messages, but it seems here that the feds are saying, therefore, the fact that, this is what I'm reading between the lines here, that Guarino's search didn't find them is normal. Not surprisingly, the state police's subsequent search for these messages, it was Guarino who did it. Yet, at the same time that the state police were confirming the absence of these messages on Farwell's personal phone, Farwell was conducting a web search on his work phone concerning law enforcement's ability to resurrect messages he deleted. Quote, can delete image okay, hold on. This is what he was searching on his work phone. So he did have a work phone and a personal phone. Some of them just had personal phones. Quote, can delete iMessages be recovered by Celebrite? Wow. Wow. He might be as dumb as Brian Walsh. And that's saying something. Of course, Celebrite is the tool that the state police and Farwell as a local detective used to review data obtained from cell phones. D, the medical examiner initially ruled Birchmore's death a suicide, but now has revised the manner of death as undetermined. Wow. Those medical examiners are really, really afraid to change their determinations. We saw that in the Irene Scorti-Bello, despite best efforts by Proctor and Buchanan 3 times to get Irene Scorti-Bello to change her manner of death on John O'Keefe's death certificate from undetermined to homicide. She wouldn't do it. And despite the wild theories by the medical examiner in the Penny McGee case, she would not change, or did not. She ruled the Andrew Savage death a homicide, despite the fact that he dropped out of a heart attack in the foyer with Penny McGee. Scott says, did Guarino hit what's called the lottery? 3/4 tax-free? Is that the lottery? Remember he had that really bad car accident? You know who else had a really bad car accident? Nicholas Barros. So crazy how all the witnesses are just having these near-death experiences, isn't it? The medical examiner initially ruled Birchmore's death a suicide in April 2026 after review of the evidence collected during the investigation into Birchmore's death. So that was just this past April. The medical examiner withdrew her opinion that Birchmore died by suicide and ruled the cause of death was asphyxia, that is also known as strangulation, and the manner was undetermined. Well, she didn't strangle herself. Since the medical examiner's initial ruling, 2 independent experts have reviewed the evidence and determined that Birchmore's death was a homicide. Okay, there you go. The U.S. Attorney's Office has hired 2 independent experts, two of them, and both of them have determined that it was a homicide. They're putting the big guns and money into this. The medical examiner's autopsy report indicates that Birchmore's hyoid bone, a U-shaped bone at the front of the neck, was fractured on the right side and that she suffered from petechial hemorrhage of the bulbar and palpebral conjunctivae. It's like blood vessels that burst in your eyes, which can also be a sign of strangulation. Can also be a sign of pushing really, 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 really hard when you're delivering a baby. Ask me how I know. I shouldn't be frozen. Maybe refresh your browser. The hyoid doesn't lie. Remember, you know who else had a fractured hyoid? Shannon Gilbert. That's why I still refuse to believe that that was an accident. Additionally, the medical examiner concluded that Birchmore had a hemorrhage of her left sternothyroid muscle. At trial, the independent so she had a hemorrhage of her left sternothyroid muscle. Okay, I would imagine it's around the thyroid, so it's probably somewhere around here. I don't know. I could look it up, but I don't have time for that right now. At trial, the independent experts will opine that these neck injuries are more common in homicidal strangulation than hangings, while noting they are not exclusive to homicidal hangings. Despite the existence of this physical evidence that is more common in homicidal deaths, the medical examiner originally categorized the manner of death as suicide largely because of the dearth of investigative updates from the assigned state police investigators. The medical examiner's original autopsy report further confirmed that Birchmore was approximately 8 to 10 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. The autopsy included toxicology testing. The results of the toxicology tests were negative for all substances except for sertraline, which was likely explained by the antidepressants that Birchmore had been prescribed. The medical examiner also noted and photographed a significant injury to Birchmore's right upper chest area. This injury is a pattern imprint that was caused by one of the ligature's lobster claw clasps being pressed into Birchmore's chest. The pattern imprint is consistent with blunt force trauma from an assault. Importantly, when Canton police officers found Birchmore's body, the lobster claw clasp that caused this imprint was up near the door handle from which she hung more than a foot from where it had been pressed into Birchmore's chest. Yeah, I don't think we knew this. This seems to be new information to me. Right. How did the medical examiner miss that? Emily says, when can we stop calling them investigators because they never investigate? No, but they sure do try and influence and get reports changed and cover for each other. Maybe they thought nobody would really look into Sandra Birchmore. You know, nobody's gonna question it. The medical examiner also took several photos of Birchmore's hair tangled in the ligature around her neck. The photos show the ligature interwoven with Birchmore's hair in a complicated and extensive web of tangles. Oh, I wonder if she was fighting to get out. In August of 2024, pursuant to a federal search warrant, the FBI obtained Farwell's DNA. DNA testing revealed that Farwell's sperm was present in a mixture on 2 separate locations on the underwear that Birchmore was wearing when she died. Well, there it is. Moreover, Farwell's DNA was present, and in fact, the major contributor to the DNA mixture recovered from the part of the ligature that was tied around the door handle to hang Birchmore. Oh, who it was there was a mixture of DNA on the strap. Who else's DNA was on the strap? Hmm. 2. Farwell intended to prevent Birchmore from reporting his crimes. Farwell killed Birchmore on February 1st to prevent her from disclosing information about his federal crimes, including certain crimes to which she was the only or primary witness. Right. So she struggled with him and was trying to get away. So sad it appeared she trusted him. And I'm wondering now, was that the murder weapon, or could he have used his bare hands to asphyxiate her? And then when he was staging it to look like she took her own life, then took this duffel bag strap and, set it up. Farwell killed Birchmore on February 1st. Oh, wait, here we go. Birchmore's electronic devices contain evidence that Farwell, a police officer, coerced and enticed Birchmore when she was 15 years old and engaged in multiple sexual encounters with Birchmore while on the clock with the town of Stoughton, because of course, getting paid while he's abusing this girl. On February 4th of 2021, the state police collected Birchmore's Apple iPhone 12, which they found on the floor of Birchmore's bedroom just beyond her reach. Members of Birchmore's family found her older Apple iPhone XS in Birchmore's car and gave it to state police investigators. On February 9th, 2021, 5 days after finding Birchmore and learning that she was in a sexual relationship with a married Stoughton police detective, the state police returned to Birchmore's apartment and recovered her laptop. Although the state police investigators did not use Birchmore's devices to obtain any search warrant to collect physical or digital evidence from Farwell or his house, these devices contain hundreds of thousands of communications, at least 40,000 of which are between Farwell and Birchmore. FBI agents reviewed all of Birchmore's communications. What they found is that Birchmore retained a trove of messages, despite Farwell's repeated commands that she delete evidence of their communications. These messages that Birchmore retained prove several important facts. First, the messages are contemporaneous confirmation of Farwell and Birchmore's active sexual relationship from at least February of 2019, which is as far back as her messages went, until her death on February 1st of 2021. Contrary to what Farwell told the state police investigators in the hastily arranged and unrecorded meeting in the school parking lot, the text messages established that Farwell met with Birchmore more than 50 times in the 23 months for which electronic data exists. Second, most of the foregoing sexual encounters between Farwell and Birchmore occurred while Farwell was on duty as a Stoughton police officer. Many of the encounters were preceded by text messages previewing their anticipated conduct, the S-type conduct, or followed by messages confirming the details of these encounters. Third, the text message between Farwell and Birchmore also confirm a criminal sexual relationship that Farwell initiated at some point between 2010, when Farwell and Birchmore began their involvement with the Stoughton Police Explorers program, and April 10th of 2013, when Farwell took then 15-year-old Birchmore's virginity. So she would have been 12 in 2010 if she was 10 I mean, she would have been, if she was 15 in 2013, she would have been 12 when they met. Footnote 4, which reads, this is a fact that Farwell admitted in a text message with Birchmore on February 11th, 2020, and other dates as described below. Okay, trigger warning, trigger warning. At the time of that first episode of criminal intercourse, Farwell was a 27-year-old Stoughton police officer. Fourth, the text messages from Birchmore's devices contain more than just a fleeting reference to a single criminal sexual encounter. Farwell sent several text messages to Birchmore in which he expressed regret that he did not take her virginity sooner, reliving non-intercourse encounters with her prior to April of 2013. Finally, text messages also show how Farwell exploited and groomed Birchmore through her teenage years and into her early adulthood. Among other things, at times, he sought to track her location through her cell phone and would become angry when she disabled that function. Farwell also asked Birchmore to enact grape fantasies, incest fantasies, and underage fantasies. Right, he groomed her for at least 3 years by doing other things with her. The text messages are not the only evidence of Farwell's historical federal crimes involving Birchmore. Facebook records indicate that Farwell reached out to Birchmore via Facebook as early as October of 2012, when she would have been 14. And multiple witnesses will testify that Birchmore disclosed to them in real time that she was engaging in relations with Farwell. At the time, Birchmore was a young teen enrolled in the Stoughton Police Explorers program and living with her disabled single mother in Stoughton. Are you sick yet? After Birchmore's death, her family collected her personal items, including Birchmore's personal journals and notebooks from 2013 until 2020. The family released these journals to the state police and later the FBI. The journal entries reveal ongoing interactions sexually with Farwell. According to the journals, this was a relational dynamic that included the concept of sex as punishment, backdoor, and choking. Oh, that was his fantasy. I forgot about that part. The choking fantasies. Oh, hang on a second. I got to get out the red pen because YouTube really doesn't like these words being shown on the screen. Hold on. Between 2019 and 2021, there are no fewer than 20 text messages from Farwell to Birchmore in which Farwell references and glorifies the act of choking Birchmore. I wonder if that's what happened, because his DNA is found on her underwear, his seminal DNA. And maybe he was enacting this fantasy with her, and then it went too far that night. And then he came up with the great idea to stage a self-deletion. Or he meant to do it. They're saying he intended to do it. What do you think? Birchmore increased the pressure on Farwell by threatening to disclose information that would expose his criminal conduct. Increasing the pressure right after I read that sentence or said that thought just makes me shudder. From 2019 to September 2020, Farwell and Birchmore have extensive text discussions about Farwell impregnating Birchmore. That day, it was intentional and premeditated. Everyone thinks so. Beginning as early as 2019, Birchmore sends dozens of messages to Farwell indicating that she wants to have a child with him. On multiple occasions, Farwell suggests that he's open to and even excited about it. In June of 2019, Farwell tells Birchmore that he does not object to Birchmore not taking birth control pills and reassures her that he will still have relations with her after he gets her pregnant. On July 9th of 2019, via text messages, Farwell reminds Birchmore that he had ejected inside her for years and begged her to stop taking birth control pills. Oh, he wanted it until he didn't. On July 12th, 2019, when Birchmore tells Farwell that she is afraid he will not support her if she gets pregnant, Farwell tells her that if that happened, you could F me over in like 3 seconds. Okay, this is all going towards, hold on a second. This is all going towards, no, that's not what I wanted. This is all going towards the federal witness theory because they were talking about it. This is way worse for him. Yeah. Maybe it just got a little bit easier to prove the federal charges based on these messages. In August 2019, on the day that Birchmore learns that Farwell's wife has given birth to their second child, Birchmore sends Farwell a text indicating that she should tell his wife that he's been having sex with another girl for almost 8 years. Okay, so at that point, they'd been in a relationship for 8 years. And she's threatening to tell the wife. In his response, Farwell does not deny that fact. Rather, he tells Birchmore that the facts about their relationship are between us and no one else. In 2020, the two continued to discuss the plan for Farwell to impregnate Birchmore. In March 2020, Farwell asked Birchmore if she will stop having sex with him if he does not get her pregnant. Oh, man. I didn't mean to do that. He tells her, I'm not willing to stop effing you. So I guess that makes the answer pretty simple. Birchmore tells Farwell that she does not want him to agree to have a baby just to ensure that he can continue having relations with her. In June 2020, Birchmore tells Farwell that she wants a child and that if he's not willing to get her pregnant, she's going to explore IVF. In July of 2020, Farwell suggests that he's softening to the idea of having a child with Birchmore, asking Birchmore what would happen if she were to get pregnant. He indicates that he would feel bad that she would be stuck with it, i.e. the child, and sends her a smiley face emoji after she tells him all of the reasons that she wants him to be the father of her child. In August of 2020, Birchmore tells Farwell that she needs to walk away if he's not going to give her a child. Farwell responds by asking if Joey, the pseudonym that he uses when he pretends to grape Birchmore during their encounters. Okay, Joey has entered the chat and I wasn't ready for it. He's got an alter ego named Joey that he uses in the grape fantasies. My eye twitch is not going to go away. That just solidified it. Farwell responds by asking if Joey, the pseudonym that he uses when he pretends to grape Birchmore during their encounters, can come over. Can Joey come over? He should be buried underneath the prison. The feds do have the death penalty. Have they said whether or not they're going to seek it in this case? Because this would be one to seek it in. I'm just saying. Can Joey come over? In September 2020, Birchmore tells Farwell that her head and heart are torn and that she needs space if he will not give her a child. He started grooming her since she was 12. 12. They're not seeking it. Have they announced that they're not seeking it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think that because I get my cases conflated sometimes. They dropped it? Okay. People had to know about this. People did know about it, and they started calling. Canton PD. And I don't know if they're going to mention it in these papers, but there was a witness who answered the phone at Canton PD, and she was told to shut up and never mention it again. Sandra Birchmore was not a quiet girl. She told people everything. In October 2020, Birchmore threatens to disclose information about their relationship if he does not impregnate her. Well, there it is. A little over 3 months later, she was dead. On October 5th, 2020, Birchmore learns that Farwell's wife is pregnant with their third child and that the baby is due in February of 2021. At that point, via text message, Birchmore tells Farwell that if he does not get her pregnant, she's going to tell his wife. Farwell goes to Birchmore's house that evening, and after their meeting, she sends him a copy of her ovulation calendar, showing the days that month that she's most likely to conceive. Based on data from Birchmore's electronic devices, she tells multiple friends about the ultimatum she's given Farwell, and at times indicating that she is the victim, given that she was 15 years old when their relationship began. Well, there it is. She did. She told it. She told a lot of people. Multiple friends. She was telling them all the way back in October. Via electronic messages, she also discloses to multiple people that Farwell routinely has relations with her when he was on the clock. In October of 2020, Birchmore does not get pregnant. In text messages recovered from Birchmore's devices, Farwell tells Birchmore that their agreement was only to try once. However, Birchmore takes the position that their deal does not involve merely having unprotected relations one time. In November 2020, Birchmore asked Farwell to consider not simply getting her pregnant, but also being present for the birth of the baby and signing the birth certificate so that they can both get what they want. Through November, Birchmore continues to ask or demand that Farwell give her what she wants. Based on the text message, they continue to have unprotected relations. In late November 2020, the text messages reveal that Birchmore gets frustrated with Farwell and tells him that she's about to walk away and do whatever she decides to do, in quotes. Separately, she tells people that Farwell is not afraid of losing her. Rather, she believes he is afraid of what she will do if he does lose her. All this stuff is in the messages. All the messages were on her laptop. They had her laptop within days of her death. They did nothing. They are still doing nothing. But yes, the rubber duck investigation, that is priority. The rubber ducky investigation of Richie Schiffer for putting rubber duckies around town in Canton outside D&E Pizza with little tiny stickers on it that say Colin did it or IYKYK was a 38-page police investigation. That's just the report. They did trash pulls at Richie Schiffer's house. They pulled flock camera footage to prove he was in the area when some Monopoly money was on the ground. On December 11th, 2020, Farwell has unprotected relations with Birchmore on a day they both believe she's ovulating. Farwell tells Birchmore that he does not believe she will ever be satisfied with what he agrees to do as part of their compromise. In December 2020, Birchmore gets pregnant, discloses the pregnancy to Farwell, and his behavior becomes violent and erratic. Oh. On December 28th of 2020, Birchmore learns that she's pregnant and tells Farwell. Remember, her murder was February 1. He responds poorly. Based on a review of the text messages between the two, at no point does he deny paternity. Birchmore tells Farwell that she's going to protect her child and that he's going to have to sign the birth certificate. In the alternative, she says, he would not be signing his wife's child's birth certificate. Farwell tells Birchmore that she has given him no choice and that she is the worst person on the face of the earth. I can't believe so much of this stuff was in the messages. It's all right there. Fanning read everything, says a mixed up girl in the world. He had it all. And this is why I say, and a lot of people say, a lot of people out there say on the YouTube streets that Fanning is like the devil. They're like, you think Proctor's bad? The stories about Fanning will curl your hair. It's all public record. There's lawsuits out there about it. Why isn't mainstream media reporting about this? They're not? I know I've been out of touch for a couple of days, but great question. On December 29th, 2020, Farwell meets Birchmore at her apartment. During that meeting, Birchmore shows Farwell a pregnancy poster that she had made for him. In the text messages that followed that meeting, Birchmore tells Farwell that something he did during the meeting made her fear him. Oh, no. Well, via text messages, she also tells at least 3 friends about this frightening encounter with Farwell, describing concerns for her own safety and the safety of the baby. She tells at least one friend that Farwell grabbed her phone out of her hand, removed her computer from her hand, and shoved her. I mean, yes, for this alone, Adam Deitch should be elected DA. Like, this is like the reason. Why is mainstream media not reporting on this? I don't know. It's a great question. Because this, again, is the jurisdiction of the Norfolk DA's office. They're the ones who didn't bring charges. The data on Birchmore's various electronic devices show that from October of 2020 until her death, Birchmore told multiple people about how she had embraced the idea of becoming a single mother. She began to research and contact lawyers to ensure that she could obtain custody of her child and support from Farwell. In January of 2021, Birchmore's pregnancy progressed. She attends doctor's appointments, receives an ultrasound, researches and narrows a list of potential baby names. She plans a birth announcement with accompanying hair appointments and photographer, contemplates gender reveals, and researches baby shower venues and newborn photographers. Birchmore purchases a car seat, baby clothes, and other items, and orders a handmade birth announcement canvas and personalized onesies. The data from her electronic devices and witness disclosures have revealed that she told at least 85 people that she was pregnant. That doesn't sound like a girl who wants to take her own life because Matthew Farwell refuses to sign the birth certificate. Oh, Scott, I must have missed that. That is vile. Thank you, Scott, for protecting the chat. 85 people. Because you know why? The FBI did a real investigation. They did a real investigation. At the same time, Farwell began to distance himself from Birchmore, refusing copies of ultrasound photos and declining to participate in any planning for the child. Sensing this, Birchmore starts to research and engage with probate and family attorneys. She reminds Farwell that she expects him to be present for the birth of her child. She also tells him that she expected the baby to have his last name and that he will have to see the child and spend a portion of his holidays with the child. Via text message, Farwell tells her that it is so much more than she has ever asked for. Oh, spending the holidays, the last name, being present. Well, the present for the birth thing was there before, but she wants holidays. She wants the last name. She wants her to see him. Zimmy says, I don't even know 85 people to tell. Farwell begins to refuse to text about any of these baby-related topics, telling her that they will discuss them in person. Ultimately, Birchmore tells Farwell that she will give him until January 31st, 2021 to meet and reach an agreement. Oh, there was a drop dead date. Oh, that's not a good word, but usually that's what we call a deadline. So we call a hard deadline a drop dead date in the legal world. She gave him a hard stop of January 31st, and she was murdered the very next day. And they've got all the evidence to back this up. Birchmore's friend calls Farwell's law enforcement employer and reports information about Farwell's relationship with Birchmore. Right, her sexual relationship. This is interesting and important. So listen to this. On January 20th of 2021. So this is before her murder. I'm sorry. I thought it was after. January 20th of 2021, Birchmore's friend calls the Stoughton PD and tells the Stoughton police employee that her friend Sandra Birchmore has been having relations with Officer Matthew Farwell. The Stoughton police employee tells Farwell, who responds by angrily commanding the employee to never mention it to him again and never to tell anyone else. That is what I would call witness intimidation. That is textbook witness intimidation. But of course, Matthew Farwell was never charged with any witness intimidation, was he? No, not even by the state. Farwell then texts Birchmore telling her that he thought he had until January 31st to meet with her and that he thought no one knew that they had been having relations. He asked her what friend of hers he would have to worry about in the future. After that date, Birchmore tells friends that Farwell had done a complete 180 and that he has started to come around, bringing her ginger ale when she was nauseous and accepting a copy of a key to her apartment. So he had a key. Birchmore texts two friends less than a week before her death that she observed Farwell looking into her bathroom and closets, which she found odd. They've got everything. I think there is a recording of that call. I think there is. I don't know if it's floating around out there, but they do record all the calls that come into the precinct, right? Oh, please. Not the precinct, the police department. It's not New York City. She may have been lying to her friends about some of this stuff that he had done a 180 because he had threatened her. Birchmore and Farwell continue. So here in whatever time this was that she texted two friends so it was less than a week before her death that he was looking in her bathroom and closets, which she found odd, right? Because he was planning. Needed to figure out how to get it done, how to end his problem. Birchmore and Farwell continued to meet in person, specifically on January 23rd, 2021 and January 29th, 2021, apparently engaging in backdoor type relations on January 29th of 2021, given that Birchmore is then on doctor-ordered pelvic rest. Well, that's interesting. Why would she be on pelvic rest so early in her pregnancy? She was 8 to 10 weeks. I don't know. I don't want to think about that too much. During that penultimate meeting on January 29th, 2021, Farwell asked Birchmore whether the apartment door code that she has given him is unique to her or whether it's the same for all residents of the complex. Well, that's interesting, huh? Are they going to know it's me when I come in? Or could it be anyone coming in? That's why he disguised himself, wore the mask, and everything. During her final week alive, Birchmore registers and pays for a standardized test that she plans to take at, I'm not going to even try and pronounce this. Who wants to give it a go? MASSASOIT Community College. Do I have to look up the video with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and I forget who the third one was? It Jimmy Fallon? And when they pronounce every single Massachusetts town name, only if you know, Massasoit. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Massasoit Community College on February 6, 2021. Okay, so she paid for a test that she intended to take at Massasoit Community College on February 6. During her final week alive, she corresponds with her OBGYN and books future appointments, meets with her therapist and books future appointments, Googles and considers baby names, engages with a child custody lawyer, and books a hair appointment for her planned Valentine's Day pregnancy announcement and gender reveal. Massasoit. I would have said, you don't want to know what I would have said. Massasoit. I would have said Massasoit. And thank goodness I have you. And listen, I'm doing really, really well on my pronunciations. Like nobody says Bill Ricca like I do, right? Sometimes we have to laugh or we're just going to keep crying. We got to breathe too. Sometimes I forget to breathe and I figure out that I'm just like holding my breath for like the whole day. Anybody else do that or just me? Birchmore's last 24 hours. On January 31st, 2021, Birchmore tells Farwell that the public school where she works will be having an early dismissal, so she'll be released early the following day due to the impending blizzard. She asks if he'll be able to shovel out her car, and he indicates that he will not be around. Good for nothing, SOB. He does not tell her that his wife has a C-section scheduled for the early morning of February 2nd of 2021. Accordingly, Birchmore arranges for a friend to shovel out her car to ensure that she can get to work on Thursday, February 4th of 2021. Footnote 5, which reads, school was canceled for February 2nd, 2021 and February 3rd, 2021, and was already scheduled to be remote. Another nor'easter. What is it with Massachusetts and murders in January and nor'easters and murders? This is almost exactly 1 year to the day before the murder of John O'Keefe. On February 1st, 2021, Birchmore comes home from work at 12:35 p.m. She speaks with her aunt and sends a photo of where her car is parked to a friend to ensure that the friend can shovel out her car. Birchmore enters her apartment building at 12:51 p.m., so this is the day of her death, and is texting with multiple people, including Farwell. She asks him if they're going to meet later in the week or if he can come over that night. Farwell tells her that he's not in town, but he can probably meet her later in the week. Birchmore seemingly takes a nap, then spends the afternoon browsing baby items on the Kohl's website, ordering clothes, FaceTiming with a friend, talking to her aunt on the phone, and ordering food from DoorDash. At 5:01 p.m., she goes to the lobby of her building to pick up food that has been delivered and returns upstairs at 5:02 p.m. Birchmore then resumes texting and submits an admission form for Massasoit, resets her password for her gas company account, and goes back downstairs and outside between 5:31 and 5:33 p.m. to dust snow off her car. I don't know why that just stands out to me, but why would she be resetting her password for her gas company account? Video surveillance footage shows her hair in a bun, and she's wearing the clothes she's ultimately found wearing when law enforcement finds her body on February 4th of 2021. Birchmore uses both her phone and her laptop that evening, looking up an EMT fire training course, baby names, pregnancy symptoms, and information about new cars. She texts multiple people, telling Farwell at 6:20 p.m. that she has received an early baby shower gift and that she does not want to have her shower during the panty. The C19 panty, YouTube hates that word. Farwell tells her that he is stressed and that Birchmore responds that they will be okay. She asks if when she learns the baby's gender, Farwell can purchase the clothes the baby will wear when she brings the baby home from the hospital. Farwell does not respond. In the hour before Farwell arrives at Birchmore's apartment, she continues to text with multiple people and reaches out to the person who's creating homemade baby onesies for her. She asks that person to send photographs of onesies when she's done. She Googles private event spaces for a baby shower, researches bookshelves for a baby or child, and has a 25-minute call with her best friend. At 9:07:56 p.m., Farwell texts Birchmore to ask if she's still awake. At 9:08:54, he asks if he can visit. I thought he said he was out of town. Didn't he? He told her he was out of town. He's just back in town. Birchmore responded at 9:10:46 p.m. that the door will be open when he arrives and sends him a smiley face emoji. At 9:13:37 p.m., Birchmore's phone locked for the final time and was never unlocked again. A man who multiple witnesses have identified as Matthew Farwell is seen on surveillance video entering Birchmore's apartment at 9:14:56 p.m. I mean, within 7 minutes, he's entering the building. Within 7 minutes of texting her if she's still awake and whether he can visit. He was nearby. He's nearby. At 9:18:03 p.m., Birchmore's phone captured a locked screenshot. It still does not unlock. At 9:24 p.m., Birchmore's friend sends her a picture of the onesies she has designed and created for Birchmore's unborn baby. Birchmore never opens up her phone nor reads that text. At 9:19 p.m., her phone remained locked and recorded 8 steps, never to move again. Farwell was captured leaving her apartment at 9:33 p.m. Less than 30 minutes later, from the time he walked into the apartment till the time he left the building, less than 30 minutes. Anticipated legal issues. There is a special place in hell for him, Tiff. Innocent until proven guilty, but we could pull out the magic 8-ball and I could shake it and it would probably say all signs point to yes. I'm just saying. The following is a non-exhaustive list of legal issues that may arise during the trial. Motions in limine. Government intends to separately brief certain issues in separate motions in limine. I have all of them. I just haven't had a chance to read them yet. For ease of reference, the government will file the following motions in limine. Motion to admit victim statements, motion to exclude evidence of penalties, motion to admit evidence pursuant to 902 and 803, motion to exclude evidence, motion to admit evidence, motion to exclude evidence, filed under seal. So a couple of these are filed under seal. I have the ones that are not under seal. Is the start date for this trial still supposed to be October 6th? Why is the October 6th sticking in my head? If anybody knows when the trial is supposed to start. Remember, this is federal court. That's like no joke. The deadlines are deadlines. Things start when they're supposed to. And for some reason, I have it in my head. Let me just check my calendar. Unless it's before that. Oh, please. I thought I had it in my calendar. October 5th. Okay. 5th or 6th of October. Okay. Stipulations. The parties intend to stipulate that forensic scientist Alicia Zimmerman, we just saw her testify today, in fact. We saw Alicia Zimmerman testify today and Lindsay Clancy. Stephanie Waite and Elizabeth Duval, MSP Crime Lab, and Danielle Reed of Bodie Labs will be permitted to testify to underlying bench work that they did not perform, but which they reviewed and based their conclusions on. Okay. The parties intend to stipulate that on February 2nd, 2021 at 9:25 a.m. at Newton Wellesley Hospital, the defendant's third child was born via scheduled C-section, so they don't need to bring in, when they stipulate to stuff, it means they're not going to need to bring witnesses in to testify to those things, and the jury is told that they are stipulating that this happened. October 5th, okay. Thanks, Mizzy. Oh, Mizzy's here. Hi, Mizzy. Mizzy's been fighting for Sandra Birchmore since the beginning. The parties intend to stipulate that a 2019 legal settlement that Birchmore had with JLN Donuts is authentic and will not require a keeper of the records to authenticate. I'm not sure what that's about, but I bet Mizzy knows. Hold on for a second. And then they're talking about authentication of records. They're going to introduce Matthew Farwell's marriage certificate, Birchmore's birth certificate, Birchmore's medical records from Signature Health and Boston Medical Center Health System, formerly known as Good Sam, and certain statements in the records made by Sandra Birchmore, because she's not here to speak for herself. They also intend to introduce records including from the Stoughton PD, including attendance, faculty, and curriculum records from the Stoughton Police Explorers program, timesheets and time-off requests for Matthew Farwell, the defendant, and the contents of the defendant's personnel file, including his resume and high school transcripts. These will be offered through one or more witnesses. The government intends to introduce billing records for the defendant's cell phone to demonstrate that he was in regular contact with Birchmore by phone at least since 2015. These records are accompanied by a certificate that complies with the federal rules. Finally, the government intends to introduce records of Walmart Inc. that are also accompanied by a certificate. These records include a receipt for a copy of a key that Birchmore had made for the defendant in the days before her murder. Here's the expert witnesses that are going to be disclosed and testifying on behalf of the United States of as such America. Alicia Zimmerman, we saw her testify today. She's a forensic scientist who works for the MSP Crime Lab, predominantly on the testing of post-mortem samples. That's what she did today. She testified about the toxicology of the children, I believe. She will testify regarding the testing of Birchmore's heart blood collected during autopsy on February 5th, 2021. She will explain the various tests conducted by other forensic scientists in her unit. She will explain her interpretation of that testing and her conclusions regarding the absence of any alcohol or controlled substances present in Birchmore's heart blood and the presence of sertraline in her heart blood. What is sertraline? Is that like Zoloft or an antidepressant of some sort, right? Stephanie Waite, she's another forensic scientist at the MSP Crime Lab. She intends to testify about the results regarding her testing of swabs collected from Birchmore's body during the completion of an evidence collection kit on February 26th of 2021, and the conclusions that she was and was not able to draw from that testing. Wait, what? They did swabs of Sandra's body? You know whose body they didn't swab? John O'Keefe's. Remember, this is 2021. John O'Keefe was murdered in 2022. No swabs from his body, right? Pin it on the girl. Ms. Waite will also testify regarding testing various stains on the underwear that Birchmore was wearing when she died. She will testify to the positive presence of sperm cells in 2 locations on Birchmore's underwear. She will also testify that she swabbed the ligature, the murder weapon from which Birchmore hung, and that she submitted skin cells collected from a portion of the ligature to the DNA section of the lab. She will also testify about the collection of fingernail scrapings and a known blood standard from Birchmore. Elizabeth Duvall is also a forensic scientist at the MSP Crime Lab. She's going to talk about the differences of single source and mixture DNA profiles, STR and YSTR testing, her interpretations and conclusions drawn from the DNA in this case. Okay, talking about bench work and who's going to testify. In sum, she will testify that a swab collected from the back interior crotch of Birchmore was separated into a sperm fraction and a non-sperm fraction. Ms. Duvall will explain what those terms mean. The non-sperm fraction was a mixture. STR testing was performed, and the mixture is 220 quintillion times more likely to originate from a mixture in which the defendant is the contributor than not. Okay, so part of that mixture was Matthew Farwell. And the non-sperm fraction is more likely to have originated from the defendant or a patrilineal, I guess from the father's side relative, then not, but that one is not a quintillion. It's only 1,246 times more likely. Remember that Matthew Farwell has a twin brother named William or Billy. The sperm fraction of this stain also underwent STR testing. This testing was a mixture and at least 16 quadrillion times more likely than not that it's Matthew Farwell's. She'll also testify that a stain on the back exterior right side of Birchmore's underwear also tested positive for sperm cells. That was a mixture. More likely, 5.5 quintillion times. We're learning everything that's going to be testified to at the trials. They're holding nothing back. This is federal court. They're telling us everything. So that came from the defendant. And the DNA testing on the ligature, very high, 6.2 trillion times more likely that defendant is a contributor than not. Why STR testing was also performed. That was a mixture with a major contributor. The major contributor is only 158 times more likely to have originated from Matthew Farwell or a patrilineal relative than not. She'll explain that the defendant was excluded as being the source of DNA under Birchmore's right fingernails. Birchmore had only her own DNA under her left fingernails. Ms. Duval will testify about the testing of another, okay, this is where it gets interesting. Another unknown sample collected by consent from a male witness, in this case, witness number 1. They're not going to name witness number 1. We don't know who it is. It is 790 quadrillion times more likely that the mixture generated from the sperm fraction found on the interior back crotch of Birchmore's underwear included in witness 1's DNA than not. Remember, we have learned also through this case that Matthew Farwell actually is not the father of Sandra Birchmore's unborn child. So witness 1 is very important. Pay attention. It is 5.4 non-trillion times more likely that the mixture generated from the sperm fraction found on the exterior right side of Birchmore's underwear included witness 1's DNA than not. So there's another male DNA in her underwear, and it's this guy, witness number 1. Witness number 1 is not found on the ligature, the murder weapon, or the hanging. It may not be the murder weapon. The murder weapon could have been his bare hands, for all we know, right? DNA profiles generated from the known sample collected from the defendant via search warrant and witness 1 via consent were sent to Bodie Labs to be compared against the DNA profile of Birchmore's unborn son. Are they going to tell us more? Are they going to tell us that witness 1 is the father of Birchmore's child? Don't speculate about who it is, because those people might sue you. But we know. We don't have to even say it. But witness 1 consented to giving their DNA. Sandra Birchmore was having relations with someone else at the same time she was having relations with Farwell, and no shade to her at all, but a lot of people were shocked to find out that he was actually not the father, and also shocked to find out that initially, I don't think the state ever tested the fetus at all. Danielle Reed from Bodie Labs is going to testify. Let's see what she's going to testify to. She's going to testify. Oh, because the MSP crime lab does not conduct paternity testing, Bodie Labs compared the fetal tissue collected from the body of Birchmore. She compared Sandra Birchmore, Matthew Farwell, and witness 1. She generated DNA profile from the fetal tissue. She excluded Matthew Farwell from being the father. Witness 1 is the father of the fetal tissue. We don't know who witness 1 is. We don't know. But witness one is obviously going to testify at the trial. Is it another state trooper? Is it another Stoughton police officer? Is it someone completely different? Is it one of the defendants in the civil lawsuit? We don't know who it is. We do know from the article that appeared, I think, in the Boston Globe, that when Sandra Birchmore was being passed around, the people she was being passed around to were Matthew Farwell's twin brother, Billy, Robert Devine, Joshua Heel. All that is in public record in a civil lawsuit. And it could be someone else that we don't know. Wow. Witness one is the father. I don't, and here's why I don't think that it's someone like Devine or Billy Farwell or like someone else who could catch charges for this. I think it's someone unrelated because it clearly said that person gave their DNA on consent. You think Robert Devine would have consented to his DNA? No way. Robert Devine didn't even want to stop being a cop. He went and became a lawyer. And then when they tried to decommission him, he fought it. So I don't think that he would have consented to his DNA. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Because it's not like they went in the garbage and started pulling, pizza crusts like in the Long Island serial killer case of Rex Heuermann, where they trailed him and they picked up a pizza crust that he tossed in the garbage, and then they picked up one of his daughter's drink Snapple bottles when she was on the train to get familial DNA. This guy consented to giving his DNA, so I don't know. Number 5 is Dr. Maria Capo Martinez of the Massachusetts OCME. Since 2016, let's see, is she the one who did the autopsy? Let's see. We're just going to skip through a bunch of her training and stuff. Cause of death, manner of death. Just give me her findings. She will testify about her experience conducting autopsies in which a person died by asphyxia. She will describe her experience, both currently and as of February 2021, conducting autopsies on individuals who had died by asphyxia during the last 4 years. She's either externally examined or autopsied approximately 117 hangings involving people taking their own life. In 4 years, wow, that's a lot. At the time she conducted Birchmore's autopsy, okay, so she did conduct Sandra's autopsy. She had conducted approximately 63 examinations, including views, external examinations, and autopsies on asphyxia-related deaths, approximately 5 related to homicidal asphyxia. At least 4 of those cases included injuries to other localities and were not isolated asphyxia cases. The most common signs of homicidal strangulation, manual or ligature, are petechial hemorrhages on different parts of the body, including the eyes, fracture of either the hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, or cricoid cartilage, and hemorrhages of neck muscles. While these are all more common in homicidal strangulations, they are not exclusive to homicidal strangulations, as it is not impossible for them to be present. It is not impossible for them to be present in the self-taking of one's own life type hangings. With either manual, I wish I could design a program that is better than this one, because this does not. I mean, really, it's 2026. Could we have a better way to edit documents in real time? I don't know. Why does everything have to be so hard? With either manual or ligature strangulation, the decedent may also have external bruising or abrasions on the neck. In smothering-related deaths, one may see injuries on the tongue, lip, mouth, or face. Dr. Capo Martinez will also testify regarding the cause and manner of death of Sandra Birchmore. During the autopsy she performed on February 5th, 2021, she noted a furrow mark a furrow / mark around Birchmore's neck, petechial hemorrhages of the bulbar and palpebral conjunctivi, skin of the face, and larynx. Remember the furrows? Oh my gosh, who was that? Was that Timothy Nuttall who talked about furrows? Dr. Capo-Martinez will explain what these injuries are and what can cause them. She also noted a hemorrhage of the left sternothyroid muscle. This is more common in homicidal strangulations, according to some of the literature, but can also be present in suicidal hangings. She also noted a fracture of Birchmore's right side hyoid bone. This type of trauma is more commonly present in strangulation-related deaths than in hanging suicides, although she will opine that a fractured hyoid bone is not exclusive to homicides, as it can be seen in hangings as well, right? Because she needs to cover her own ass. Dr. Capo-Martinez does not recall ever seeing a fractured hyoid bone from a partial hanging like the one in this case, but opines that it is not impossible for that to occur. Of course, because again, she's covering her ass. And remember, there was a lot of stuff that the MSP did not give Dr. Capo-Martinez when she did her exam. They withheld a lot of information from her, a lot of it. We learned about that in some other pretrial motions in this case. She will also testify about a 2.3 by 2 centimeter dry red-brown abrasion located on Birchmore's right upper chest. She made a note of this abrasion in her autopsy, measured it, and photographed it extensively. She did not, at the time of the autopsy, identify this as a patterned imprint consistent with the buckle located on the ligature. After reviewing the photographs of the injury and comparisons with the buckle, Dr. Capo-Martinez confirms that there is a perimortem abrasion on Birchmore's chest and agrees that this injury may be a pattern abrasion caused the buckle. Oh, you know what that tells me? She was hauled into the feds. She was hauled into the feds and questioned and given her findings and then given more information and saying to her, would you like to change your opinion now that you have all of this additional information that was withheld from you by the Massachusetts State Police investigators in this case? Dr. Capo-Martinez also noted that Birchmore was pregnant with a fetus consistent with an 8 to 10 week gestation, an unremarkable placenta, and amniotic sac. She photographed the fetus at autopsy and returned it to the body of Birchmore. In the days following the autopsy, Dr. Capo-Martinez was asked to preserve the fetus, and she will explain the steps she took to do so and the ultimate transport of the fetal tissue to Bodie Crime Laboratories. Yeah, when did they do that? Not until the indictment was superseded in something like October of whatever year that was that they added those charges. Maybe they'll tell us. Describing the body when it came to her, she can't say with any degree of medical certainty how long Birchmore had been deceased, but her body did not appear inconsistent with a day of death being February 1st, 2021. On February 26, 2021, she conducted a biological evidence collection kit on Birchmore. She's going to talk about how she did it. She originally ruled the manner of death as a suicide. This was based on information. Oh, here it is. This is based on information that she had received from the original investigation and responses to her request for investigative updates. She will testify that at no point prior to that date was she or the OCME notified that this death was a potential homicide or a suspicious case. You know who would have solved this case? Quincy, Dr. K. Scarpetta. They would have solved it. They would not have had to have been told that it was suspicious or potentially a homicide. They wouldn't have taken their word for it. On April 30th of 2026, April 30th of 2026, more than 5 years after the murder of Sandra Birchmore, Dr. Capo Martinez issued an amended death certificate in which she opined that Birchmore died by asphyxia and that the manner of her death was undetermined. This was based on her review of additional information that she was provided in and after August of 2024. Oh, what now? Oh, what now? The feds were still working on this case in August of 2024 and after August of 2024? Everybody wants you to believe. They want to gaslight you into believing that the feds finished up their little investigation after the grand jury into the murder of John O'Keefe. When all those people testified in something like, when did they testify? When was that federal grand jury? Colin Albert testified, Brian Albert testified, Jennifer McCabe testified. That was in 2020 spring. Well, let's see. The FBI ice cream truck visited Jennifer McCabe in April of 2023, which was before Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy, ever reported on the case. Okay. Then they had their federal grand jury and they testified, and no charges have yet been brought against any of those people. So they want you to believe the FBI are gone. They're done. They were still talking about Birchmore to Dr. Capo Martinez in and after August of 2024. Let's keep going. Based on information unknown to her in May of 2021, including but not limited to data from Birchmore's cell phone, the surveillance video, the DNA evidence, and the Birchmore and Farwell's history of consensual or sexual choking, Dr. Capo Martinez evaluated the medical evidence with new context. Her opinion is no longer that Birchmore died by asphyxia by hanging, but rather by asphyxia, period. Her manner of death is medically undetermined. They withheld everything from her. They withheld everything from her. Now she has all the information. She's testifying against Farwell. And if you think they're just looking into Farwell, you'd be sadly mistaken. I would guess, and this is just a guess, this is just a hypothesis, that there are some other people who were involved in covering up the murder of Sandra Birchmore, who you will soon see with new silver bracelets, including, but not limited to, perhaps John Fanning, who quickly cleared Matthew Farwell in a parking lot, fellow Stoughton cop. Microdos is here. Hi. You and me, both of us in that latest FOIA dump. It's Dave Matthews song, by the way. Higgins wanted Microdots to be arrested, and Brennan paid to have my YouTube interview of Garrett Wing transcribed for the defense. So we both made it in there. Looks like we made it. We haven't even had time to go over that yet. Sherilyn says the feds have set up camp in Norfolk County. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the, actually, we knew that they had transcribed Garrett Wing's interview, because when we went over all of the invoices from trial number 2, we found the invoice for it. And so we were like, that was wild, right? We already knew about it, but like seeing the actual transcript of it in the dump was wild. And the wild thing also is that they transcribed the shorter video. There were 2 videos. One of them was like an hour and a half long, and then I cut it down to half an hour. But there was so much more in the hour and a half long video that whoever sent them my information just didn't send them the right video. So that was a big fail on their part, because there was a lot more information in the longer version. Oh, please. Richie's awesome. I've met Richie a couple different times. Seeing in print is much different. Yeah. Richie is awesome. And we also know that some wackadoo had sent an email about me to Michael Morrissey, which he then forwarded on to Brian Tully and Hank Brennan about how me and other people should be charged with RICO. So I definitely was in their inbox, and I'd like to, I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more, but it's so obvious because that's when they started coming for me was right before I did the interview with Garrett Wing, before I ever talked about Karen Reed on my channel. I went on Court TV twice, remember, with who I was up against, Jennifer Coffendoffer. And she tried so hard to make me look like a fool that was no way a dog attack, that I got Garrett Wing to come on the channel, I did that interview, and I have been over the target ever since. Ever since. They haven't stopped. They haven't stopped. What'll they be talking about tonight? Next expert witness is Dr. William Smock, who did a forensic evaluation. He's an ER with more than ER doc, more than 40 years of experience in forensic evaluation of injuries. He's got lots of qualifications, as you can see, as we scroll through here. Treated and evaluated thousands of patients, fatally, non-fatally. He's been an expert everywhere, state and federal courts. He's also the medical director of the San Diego-based Training Institute for Strangulation Prevention. That's interesting. Written and lectured extensively. So he's specifically a strangulation expert. Specifically, Dr. Smock will testify about the importance of considering various factors and evidence from the crime scene as well as victimology. In the last 40 years, he has responded to, investigated, and assisted law enforcement at more than 1,000 death and crime scenes. Yeah, he's been around the block. Dr. Smock will testify about his experience and expertise in the recognition of staged and altered crime scenes. Oh, he's going to be a great witness. I'm sure somebody will do a deep dive into Dr. Smock later on the Tubes of You and see if you can find him testifying in any other trials, unless you already know from personal experience that he's testified in other trials. Yeah, I think there's a lot of arrests coming down the pike. It's going to be wild because the FBI is here. They're still here. They haven't stopped. And do you think anybody is going to get away with covering up the murder of Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child by another officer? I say hell to the no. Is Adam Deitch chomping at the bit to get in office and file some charges, convene some grand juries? You guys got to get out and vote. Emily C. is hosting a fundraiser on Saturday for Adam Deitch on her channel. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it because I have a thing on Saturday. I have a prior commitment. I'm going to try. Adam Deitch was also down at Paul's Barbershop in Quincy with our viewer, with one of our cupcakes, Missy, who works at they've got me on the big TV in the barbershop in Quincy. Adam Deitch went there for over an hour. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, and spoke to everyone. And I thought that was such a great idea because Missy, who works there, she's a stylist at the barbershop, said that she had been talking to customers and they knew nothing about Adam Deitch. They knew nothing about the Norfolk County Attorney DA's race. They didn't know anything about it. And she thought it would be a good idea to reach out to his people and see if he would come down. And he came down and he was there for more than an hour. And who better than people who do hair to talk to their customers and clients all day long and tell them how important this is? I thought it was a great idea. And she did it. She did it on her own because she's awesome. Missy, not to be confused with Mizzy. So if you need a haircut and you're down in Quincy, get on over there to Paul's Barbershop, give them a little business because they don't like corruption either. So he's going to talk about staged and altered crime scenes. And let's see. He also trains professionals in how to recognize and investigate staged to look like accidents. And he seems highly qualified to testify about these things. Okay, what's his opinion? Let's get to his opinion. A lot of good information here if anybody wants to read it. He's going to testify about his review of the evidence, and here's what he's going to say. He's going to say, Sandra Birchmore presented with fractures of the right superior horn of her hyoid bone. Hyoid bone fractures are commonly seen in strangulation assaults and in hangings with full body weight applied to the ligature rather than in partial hangings, right? So it didn't happen from the duffel bag strap hanging around the doorknob with her sitting on the ground. He will make it clear how rare it is for a hyoid bone fracture to occur in a seated or reclined incomplete hanging, especially when a decedent is under 30 years old. For persons under 30, this is interesting. For persons under 30 years old, the hyoid bone is actually 3 separate bones and is not yet fully fused, and thus is much more flexible and takes significantly more pressure to fracture. How old was Shannon Gilbert? Shannon Gilbert was under 30 too, right? Huh. The type of pressure required to fracture a hyoid bone in a person under 30 years old is inconsistent with the amount of pressure applied to the hyoid bones in partial seated hangings. That is a very important note in people under 30, but I know Shannon Gilbert was under 30. She was in her 20s, I think. So he is going to opine that the severity of the hyoid bone fracture with which Birchmore presented at autopsy would have caused her severe pain, trouble swallowing, and trouble speaking had she survived. Additionally, Sandra Birchmore presented at autopsy with a pattern imprint on her right upper chest. This injury was a perimortem created injury. So that would mean before death. Dr. Smock will explain how one can tell the difference between a postmortem and perimortem injury given the presence of a vital reaction on the skin. The perimortem injury to Birchmore's right upper chest was caused by blunt force trauma and contains a pattern imprint that matches in length, width, and shape of the spring-loaded lobster claw clasp that were found on the ligature behind Birchmore's neck and above the doorknob from which she hung. The position and location of the spring-loaded clasp that were found on the ligature indicate she did not die in the position in which she was found. Oh, he's telling us everything. Dr. Smock will present an exhibit to the jury which shows the imprint that the same clasp makes when it's pressed into clay. The imprint matches the pattern injury found on Birchmore's right upper chest and is inconsistent with an incomplete hanging. Birchmore presented with areas of skin missing from both the interior and lateral aspects of her nose. These abrasions are commonly seen in cases of suffocation when the victim moves their nose back and forth in an effort to breathe. Oh, no. Look who's next on the expert witness list. Nicholas Guarino. Nicholas Trooper Guarino. He's not a trooper anymore because I think he retired because now he's been hired as a civilian, I've heard, for the Norfolk DA's office. He was in a yes, here it is. Ironically, Scott says, former trooper detective Nick Guarino retired on a medical from MSP, but now works as a civilian tech expert at the Norfolk DA's office. Yes, but he's testifying for the United States of America. And he got blamed for a lot of this. He got blamed for missing a lot of these text messages in the beginning. Remember, he said, kill me when he was on the stand, testifying in the Karen Reed case. Trooperino, you remember? Trooperino. A lot of people are saying he's a cooperating witness, that he flipped. I don't know about that. I know that Grant said that on his stream. I haven't had a chance to watch it. But any of these people who actually did the investigation. Oh, just wait, there's more? Okay, I'll wait. Okay, let me keep going then. Did Nick flip? Right, did Nick flip? Flip Nick. Oh, please. Is he wearing a wire? Is it a flip? I don't know. He said to look up Operation Greylord. I didn't have a chance to do that yet. Forensic examiner Guarino is a civilian employee of the Norfolk DA's office, having served in that capacity since April of 2026. Okay, they're telling us everything. April of 2026. That's also when, wait a second. April 2026 is also when they sat down with the medical examiner to say, here's all the information that you weren't provided with. Would you like to change the manner of death on the death certificate, medical examiner? Wasn't that April of 2026 also? Do I have to scroll back and look? Yeah, I like to be right. So, hold please. Yes. Yes. April 30th of 2026 is when she changed the manner of death to undetermined. The same April of 2026 when Guarino was planted inside the Norfolk DA's office. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but the timing is suspicious, right? I mean, they always say the first person to flip gets the best deal, right? First person to cooperate gets the best deal. Maybe you get immunity. I can't say that for sure. And so I don't know. But if Nicholas Guarino is hired in April of 2026 to be a civilian employee, because he's already retired and now he's rehired back into the Norfolk DA's office, did somebody put him there? I mean, Guarino, did he testify in both Karen Reed trials? Remember when he said, kill me? I mean, that guy, he was white as a ghost. He was also in a near fatal car accident. Okay. And I can't remember now because Nicholas Barros was also in a near fatal car accident. There have also been some really weird, remember, I mean, car accidents in Massachusetts, suspicious, going all the way back to Chappaquiddick. Okay. Remember how I told you recently I watched that movie? I can't even remember the name of it now, about Mary Jo Kopechne. And I was like, these crazy car accidents that happen when they want to get rid of a witness. And how protected it was Ted Kennedy was at the time. And trial 2, he limped to the stand. That's right. That was after his near fatal car accident. And one of them, I can't remember if it was Barros or Guarino, was hit by a drunk driver. But I think somebody was talking about, it was when I had Grant on the channel. Were we talking about Guarino at that time, where he was on like a really weird stretch of road where there was like, I don't know. But I also remember reporting back to you one time about, I can't remember now. There was a guy who's like a famous, I don't know if he's a builder, but he owns a lot of property, like down in Quincy, really powerful guy. And there was a young girl that he may have been with, and then she wound up dead, maybe in another car accident. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about? Am I giving you enough information? We talked about this years ago. That really rich man who owned tons of property, like a really high level guy in Quincy. Maybe he kept a boat there. And then there was a young woman that he was having an affair with. Do you guys remember? And then she had a really bad car accident and she was supposed to testify. Yeah, he was a developer who was friends with Marcy. Am I conflating cases now? And she was supposed to testify, and then she died in a car accident. I forget the guy's name, but it was a whole family. Maybe you guys will remember. Overruled. Sit down. Says Operation Greylord was the 80s federal investigation into judicial corruption, Cook County, Illinois. Thank Bob. Defense Diaries. Thank you. Marcy's buddy. Yeah. God, I'm going to have to dig into the archives. O'Connell, maybe. O'Connell. You guys are reminding me his name's O'Connell. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Sounds like. Yes, he built Marina Bay. That's it. We're getting there. Calla Lily, you remember. He built up Marina Bay. William O'Connell. Is that the same case where the girl who was going to testify died in a car accident? She was like underage maybe or something. I can't remember everything, but okay. More rabbit holes. Okay. April 2026. Nicholas Guarino all of a sudden was planted in, started working at the Norfolk DA's office. That was just, I don't know, 3 short months ago. The feds are still here. They haven't gone anywhere. And it's all happening. My eye is twitching now, but for different reasons. It may all be happening, in my opinion, maybe. No wonder the trolls are out of control. No wonder they're going insane right now. How long ago did this stuff come out? I'll see what it's dated, but so much stuff has come out between the FOIA dumps that, by the way, Michael Marcy knew were coming. Okay, he knew they were coming because his office is the office that releases the FOIA dumps. Between that and then these federal documents being filed, no wonder the rats are scurrying for the corners. And they're trying to be out there getting ahead of this narrative. The trolls always tell on themselves, always. It's like, don't look at this. Look over here. Melanie Little's a jerk. Emily C sucks. Richie should be arrested. They should all be charged with RICO. Oh, of course. That's why. Don't let them distract you, guys. Don't let them rage bait you. This is a coordinated effort to distract you from this and that and the other thing and all the really, really, really bad stuff. All the really, really, really bad stuff. It is a fantasy that is coming out against them. I mean, even Suze is getting love notes from the trolls. They're everywhere. And have you noticed that they've multiplied? They have multiplied like, I don't know, give me an analogy of something that multiplies really fast. There's so many more of them. The sock accounts are rampant. Oh, here's Kyle. See, Kyle doing the Lord's work. Less than 2 years after William O'Connell was charged with having a relationship with a 14-year-old girl, and 3 months after the girl was killed in a fiery car crash, the wealthy Quincy developer. Oh, wait, he's got to finish his thought because he probably didn't have enough room. As I scroll down looking for Kyle Sharkey's next message. But yeah, that's what happened. She was killed in a fiery car crash. They multiply like. The wealthy Quincy developer is likely to walk out of court Friday, a free man, our news partners at Patriot Ledger reported. I knew it. I knew I had talked about it with you guys before. And people said at the time that this William O'Connell has ties to Michael Marcy. Go down the rabbit hole, my friends. Go on down there. It's deep. This is so much bigger than Karen Reed. I've said it from the beginning. So much bigger. Okay, back to Guarino. So Guarino is a civilian employee who's been there since April of 2026. In this role, forensic examiner Guarino provides digital forensic assistance in criminal investigations conducted by state and local law enforcement agencies. Forensic examiner Guarino acquires and preserves digital evidence from various digital media, including computers and cellular telephones. Protect. Maybe we need shirts that say protect Guarino, protect Nick, Trooperino, protect Trooperino. I don't know. Do you think he went to work the day that this came out? Prior to joining the Norfolk DA's office as a civilian forensic examiner, he served as a Massachusetts State Police trooper from October 2015 to March of 2026. Right, but wasn't he out on medical for a long time? So I guess he retired March of 2026, and then by April of 2026, he's in there as a civilian. I mean, they may have sat him down and said, listen, charges are coming for a lot of people who tried to cover up the murder of Sandra Birchmore. Maybe you don't want to be one of them. Maybe you don't want to be one of them. Maybe he got a queen for a day deal. It's possible. He did look like a scared rabbit last time he testified. Forensic examiner Guarino is expected to testify regarding his forensic extraction of data from 3 Apple iPhone smartphones. He'll also testify regarding the forensic extraction of data from 1 laptop computer, an Apple MacBook. So he did do all of these extractions in the beginning. So he can testify about the work that he did. He may so then now they're saying not that he will testify, but he may testify that the iPhones and laptop were preserved in a forensic state after they were seized, and that he subsequently performed data extractions on the iPhones and laptops using reliable tools and methods. Guarino may further testify that during reliable forensic tools, the extracted data included various digital artifacts, including but not limited to text and SMS messages, internet browsing history, web search history, call logs, emails, health data, photographs, contacts, downloaded applications data, and systems operating data. He can also testify to the stuff that was deleted by Farwell. He may be asked to authenticate them and testify that they are the exact copies of files and or data found on the iPhones and or laptop at the time the devices were seized. Yes. Okay, so O'Connell is now 73, and the thing involving him was with a 14-year-old girl. Many people have surmised that there is a big underage, trafficking thing happening in Massachusetts, that all these people are part of the same club. I mean, look at Matthew Farwell was with a 14, 15, 13-year-old. Richie says, I think he was told not to find any deleted data, so Farwell and Jen could hand in their devices. Do you think, Richie, that he flipped and now he's a friendly because he's got a queen for a day? I don't know. I don't know what I think, but I think that this timing, this whole April of 2026 thing is suspicious, because if he was given a queen for a day, which is like, you have one day to tell us everything you know, and if it pans out to be stuff that we can use, we will give you something like maybe immunity. I can't say either. Then maybe he decided he was going to retire in March, take his pension, then work as a civilian, and, I don't know. I just think that the medical examiner changing her manner of death in April of 2026, lining up with Guarino's retirement, and then hiring as a civilian. Maybe he just doesn't want to be bald, says Zimmy. It's like I double dog dare you to the feds. Hold on, let's get to some of these earlier questions. Welcome, my sunshine. Bert and Ernie's Adventures. Mary Ellen says, Turtle Boy's new charges are crazy. Manipulating courts. I don't know. I have the Better Rose letter here. Thanks for being here for 10 months. LL Neal became a member. Welcome. Friend of Doug gifted 10 memberships earlier. Thank you again for that. Aunt Bibi says, I said rumor, my queen. Thank you for being here for 34 months. Overruled Sit Down said, Massachusetts supervisor courts have a mandatory retirement age of 70. Thank you. I'm the problem. It's me, said, and went back to the Clancy home too. That was earlier, so I'm sorry if I don't remember what it was that we were talking about then. Jazia says, I've been here for 2 years. This UK cupcake, I love you with all my heart. Thanks for being here for 2 years. You're such a loyal cupcake. Breezy's been here for a month. Molly is royal, says, I wonder if the Commonwealth actually destroyed Karen's phones. Perhaps there was exonerating information on them. That's an interesting point. Thanks for your 10. Foxy Wolf says, on Reed, they're probably trying to figure out a way to plant false messages on her phones to charge her. That's crazy. ZB says, Zebrew fan says, I'm not a troll. I'm just poor. The trolls have a bigger budget now. Actually, they were coming in with some bigger super chats earlier on the first stream today, which was crazy. Megan Johnson says, I think he wanted to cover up what is exploitation, but also the pregnancy was going to change her body and she wouldn't look like a child, his preference anymore. Thank you, Megan, for your thoughts and your 10. Ellen, welcome. Helena says, the only logical conclusion is that absolutely everything is connected. Why else would they want to cover up something like this and John O'Keefe's death? Right. Occam's razor. Tuning in from Sweden. Thank you, Helena. Overruled Sit Down said, witness 1 could have been having a normal relationship. Right, exactly. Sad that we now have to have the term normal. Right. This person could have been in an adult consensual relationship with Sandra Birchmore, having nothing to hide. But she was telling Matthew Farwell that it was his baby. So he thought it was his baby. That's all I can say about that, because we haven't learned anything about other communications in her phone. Was she also communicating with witness number 1? We don't know at this point. Thank you, Overruled Sit Down. We just talked about this. And Kraft Haskell says, December 20th, 2012, Rebecca Resendez, the alleged victim in the statutory grape case against Quincy developer William O'Connell, was killed in a fiery car crash. Right. This goes all the way back to 2012. Michael Morrissey started his term as district attorney, I believe, in 2010. You can correct me if I'm wrong. He's been the DA since 2010. He's been in public service his whole entire life. He's run unopposed every single time. He kept getting reelected. So he's been the DA for 15 years. Before that, he had some other positions in government. And this happened in 2012. Thank you, Kraft Haskell, for getting down in that rabbit hole. Down and dirty. Yeah, Fallstar says the feds are calling him witness number 1, so he doesn't have a fiery car crash. Yeah. Shelley says Farwell killed her because of the call from her friend to the Stoughton police. I think there were probably a lot of reasons. He also didn't want to sign the birth certificate. She was pressuring him. She was threatening to tell his wife. She was threatening to tell everybody. But I think that her friend calling did set off a chain of events. Next expert, Chris Beckstrom, FBI examiner, another forensic examiner. Let's see what he's got to say. Oh, he's expected to testify that he did not perform the extraction of data from the iPhones or the Apple laptop. However, he obtained the original extraction files and processed the data to a readable format using reliable tools. For example, Celebrite and Magnet, Forensics, Axiom. He personally performed the original forensic data from a different iPhone. Let's see what he's going to testify about. He may testify concerning metadata. Oh, we love a metadata expert. I didn't think metadata was a thing in Massachusetts, I guess. I guess for the feds, it's a thing. They know how important it is. He may testify about the date and time that iMessages were sent or received, and phone numbers and internet browsing history and or web history. Funny how they're not hiring Ian Whiffen for this. Ian Whiffen is testifying. He's going to testify. He's expected to testify in the Lindsay Clancy trial on behalf of the Commonwealth, which is going to be interesting to see Kay Shred cross-examine him. He's going to testify about Birchmore's iCloud, Facebook, Google accounts. He may testify that based upon his review of the data from the foregoing accounts, certain videos, images, and electronic communications are accurate reproductions of data produced by the respective internet service providers. He may also testify concerning the absence of certain data in the selected produced data, right? Like things that were deleted. And as of, see how they're not being very specific about his testimony? Farwell admitted that he deleted his messages with Sandra Birchmore before he turned in his phone. But do you think that Mr. Beckstrom of the FBI is going to be able to show using metadata that perhaps some information was deleted from these devices after it was in the custody of the Massachusetts State Police? Wouldn't that be crazy? Because, destroying evidence is a whole other federal charge, right? For some other people that may be involved in this. Right? Huh. And look who else is coming in. Dr. Bodden. Dr. Bodden. Linda Kenny Bodden's husband. He's the former chief medical examiner of New York City. That is right. He's worked as a medical examiner for 50 years. He's performed more than 20,000 autopsies. He also was hired by the plaintiff's firm who represent Sandra Birchmore's family in her wrongful death case. Tampering with evidence sounds like a pretty rough charge. Dr. Bodden will testify that the injury that Birchmore sustained would have caused a loss of consciousness in less than 10 seconds and death within a few minutes. That's why he was able to get in and out of there in 30 minutes, allegedly. He will testify that Birchmore presented at autopsy with petechial hemorrhages in her eyes, as well as a hemorrhage of the left sternothyroid muscle and a fracture of her right hyoid bone, commonly found in homicide strangulation, both manual and ligature. And in his 50 years of experience, these are not commonly present in suicidal hangings, especially ones where they're partially seated. And he's also going to testify about her hair that was tangled in the ligature. It's also inconsistent with his experience with suicidal hangings. He will also note that the ligature tightly applied and crossing the mid-neck horizontally would have compressed the carotid arteries bilaterally. The appearance and location of the ligature was also, in his opinion, consistent with homicidal strangulation rather than a suicidal hanging. Look who's number 10 on the expert witness list, Jessica Hyde. Jessica Hyde. Is testifying for the United States of America against Matthew Farwell. Now remember, she's a private witness. She doesn't work for the Massachusetts State Police. She doesn't work as a civilian for the Norfolk County DA's office. She is a private expert who was hired by Tully to testify against Karen Reed to disprove the 227 search, right? Initially, that was the whole reason she was hired, right? To protect and defend Jennifer McCabe. Correct me if I'm wrong, or supplement me if you'd like. What else did Jessica Hyde testify about other than 227? Craftastical, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. It's raining memberships because Kay Willis also gifted another 5. Welcome. Welcome to all of you. Thank you, Betsy. XOXO for your Venmo. What did Jessica Hyde hide? Well done. Well done. Thank you, Kay Willis. She's a realtor south of Boston. You want to get in? You want to get out? Kay Willis is your girl. Shaun of the Gulf did a stream, says Diane Gallagher, that included the fiery crash in Milton and tied everything together. I'll have to go back and look for that. Okay. Grant thinks that she flipped too. All right, well, let's read it. Jessica Hyde is an experienced digital forensics expert and founder at Hexordia, a firm that provides specialized digital forensic training and consulting. Ms. Hyde has worked in the field of digital forensics for more than 15 years. During this time, she's performed hundreds of forensic extractions of data from digital devices using a variety of commercial forensic extraction tools, Cellebrite, GrayKey, VeriKey, analyzed data derived from Apple products, and taught college and graduate level courses in digital forensics. Her testimony will draw on her extensive experience in the field, which is summarized below. Ms. Hyde is expected to testify regarding her review of the surveillance video footage depicting a lobby at the Canton Woods apartment complex on February 1, 2021, and her comparison of that video to the data from Sandra Birchmore's iPhone XS and Apple iPhone 12. Based on this comparison, Ms. Hyde will testify that the timestamp on the surveillance video footage is approximately 13 minutes to 13 minutes and 30 seconds ahead of the actual time. Ms. Hyde calculated the foregoing offset by comparing the events depicted in the video to the extracted data. Hold on a second. Holy Colleen Crawford. Holy Colleen Crawford. Are they going to use Jessica Hyde to prove that someone, perhaps maybe like Colleen Crawford, altered the surveillance video from the apartment complex? Oh, wow. I think another thing about Jessica Hyde is that Jessica Hyde, when she testified, she wasn't given all the information, remember? Grant thinks she's a federal agent doing an op. I don't know, but I remember that Tully found her. Wasn't it Tully that found her and reached out to her before trial number 1? Thank you. Kyle Sharkey, off topic again. Did you put something off topic already in here? Because I haven't been watching the chat. Third-party motion to intervene is allowed. However, any materials produced by the special prosecutor are subject to the protective measures now in place. Aiden Carney. Okay, but what case? Is it in my inbox? Hold on. Did Aiden Carney move to intervene? I can't keep all of this straight. Thanks for the breaking news, but I don't know what it's about. May the 4th be with you. All right, may the 4th be with you. Hold on. Caroline said, remember the emails she sent to Tully talking about the defense lawyers? She was bumping Tully in those emails. Oh, I don't remember them. She was playing dumb. I think she's with the FBI. I don't know. P in Trouble says none of them had a complete extraction of John's phone or anyone else's. Fanning and Crawford together again. Tampering with evidence, people are saying. I mean, Scott says that Grant was opining that Jessica Hyde flipped too. It gets crazy. Grant saying the feds were watching DA Marcy trying to hire her to fix Jen McCabe's house long to die in cold 2:27 a.m. text. I mean, based on this comparison, all right, let me take this back a paragraph. Jessica Hyde reviewed the surveillance video footage from the lobby on February 1st. Okay, so that's the footage of Farwell coming and going from the lobby of Sandra Birchmore's apartment building on the night of her murder. And she compared that video to the data from Sandra Birchmore's iPhones. Based on this comparison, Ms. Hyde, will testify that the timestamp on the surveillance video footage is 13 minutes to 13 minutes and 30 seconds ahead of the actual time. Ms. Hyde calculated the foregoing offset by comparing the events depicted in the video to the extracted data. Like maybe, right, remember I said that he must be nearby because she's texting him at a certain time and he gets there within 7 minutes? But what they're saying is the actual time would have been 13 minutes later, right? So it would have taken him 20 minutes to get there instead of the 7 that I originally thought. I don't know. Was it altered? Or was the time just off on the whole entire thing? I don't know. Huh. This included a comparison with the following data: Apple Health step data, changes in the phone's physical orientation, SMS messages with DoorDash, device lock and unlock, backlight status, application in focus, and application in use. Ms. Hyde's testimony regarding the approximate time offset for the surveillance video is based on her extensive experience obtaining and analyzing the foregoing data extracted from digital devices. It's also based on Ms. Hyde's training and experience regarding the reliability of time-related metadata for the foregoing artifacts. Ms. Hyde is expected to testify regarding her review of the iPhones and laptop for evidence of the deletion of data. This will include testimony regarding her search for deleted text and SMS messages. At trial, Ms. Hyde may testify regarding the recovered artifacts and possible deletion on the devices she reviewed. Well, they don't have Farwell's phone, I don't think. They have Sandra's phone. And so if Jessica Hyde is going to come in and testify that stuff was deleted off of Sandra's phone and laptop after it was in MSP custody, that is huge. Again, that is huge. And that's why Guarino's not testifying about the deletion of data. Jessica Hyde is. She doesn't work for the MSP. She doesn't have any loyalty to them. She's not going to get a pension from them. Do you think they do have Farwell's phone? But it says, so which iPhones were Sandra's? Somebody will go through this with a more fine-tooth comb. And so it may be some deleted stuff from Farwell's phone because he said that he did delete it. He said he deleted his messages with Sandra. But again, if some stuff was deleted from Sandra's laptop after it was in custody to try and protect Farwell, that too could be a problem. Because it's all about to go down. There was steps with DoorDash, right? Sure feels like time drifts. There's another guy in that video, right? Grant calls him the mystery man. In fact, Grant says, when I asked him when he came on my show, and I said, when did you exactly realize that you had been duped and used by these people? He said, it was the mystery man in the Sandra Birchmore. No, not the mystery man in the Sandra Birchmore video. The mystery man in the Sallyport video. But I think there's also a mystery guy in the Sandra Birchmore video that he uncovered too, right? He really falls into rabbit holes. Ms. Hyde is expected to testify regarding Apple Health data, including step data. Her testimony on this topic is based on her training, review of applicable manufacturer and independent literature regarding Apple Health data, and extensive experience extracting and analyzing Apple. Well, who knew she could do all this? Because remember, Tully didn't have her do any of this stuff. They used Whiffen to do a lot of this stuff, right? the Apple Health data and stuff. They didn't use Jessica Hyde for that. I thought they only used her for the 227. I may be wrong. Oh, that's when the trial is going to start, October 5th, 2026. Thank you. Thank you, Julie Moskowitz. The Moakley Federal Courthouse in Boston, Massachusetts, October 5th, 2026. There's a guy in the Sandra video outside. They think maybe the theory is maybe he had a helper. Mystery man crosses the screen towards Farwell after Farwell leaves. You're telling me. Memory says it's possible that Hyde produced her communications with the DA's office that the feds otherwise would not have. "1982 says they never expected the FBI to get involved and thought their shenanigans would work." Sounds like it. Brit Being Human says the circumstances around Guarino's accident were highly suspicious. He was sent to a detail not inside his normal purview and at a place with no turnoff, was hit by a, quote, drunk driver. Let's keep going. Ms. Hyde will testify that Apple iPhones and watches contain a set of sensors that record the user's movements. These sensors record, among other things, the number of steps a user takes and the corresponding times when those steps occur. Is she going to say that you can't wave an iPhone around while you're going over a hill in your car and make it record steps? I wonder if they had Jessica Hyde review all of the evidence of the Apple Health data for John O'Keefe and Jennifer McCabe. Too. I wonder if she's under contract now with the feds. I wonder. I mean, I'm just saying it could be true. On an Apple device, this data is stored in the database titled Health Data or Health DB Secure SQLite. Yep, it was Ian Whiffen that talked about waving the iPhone around and how you could do that, and he did it himself, and it showed that it was insane. But Jessica Hyde is also an expert in this stuff, and I wonder if they've got her under contract to look at everything. I don't know. Ms. Hyde is expected to testify regarding data or the absence of data derived from an Apple Watch 5 that was paired with the iPhone 12 identified above. By way of background, Ms. Hyde is expected to testify regarding the process by which an iPhone and watch pair and exchange data. She's expected to testify that the aforementioned Apple Watch 5 last synced with the above iPhone 12 on January 31 of 2021, which would have been the day before the murder. Her testimony will be based on her review of the data. Again, I'm not sure if this is Sandra's or if this is Farwell's. And she will confirm that the Apple Watch did not attempt to transfer any health data to the iPhone 12 after January 31st of 2021. She has millions of dollars in federal contracts. That's interesting, says Amanda. Be in Trouble says, you haven't been able to trick iPhones into thinking you're taking steps for at least 10 years. Thank you, 20th Century Fox. Grant said multiple federal contracts per her website. This is so interesting. Now I can see where he's coming to his conclusions. It's starting to make sense to me now because I hadn't read this yet, and I was like, I don't know. How are we going to do that? How are we going to make that connection? Ms. Hyde is expected to testify there may be multiple reasons why data did not transfer, and all of those reasons are listed here. Ms. Hyde will testify regarding the absence of forensically sound methods of obtaining Apple Health data from the Apple Watch. So I guess she's going to say that it's not accurate because they didn't sync up. Interesting. Number 11, Dr. Lisa Rocchio, clinical and forensic psychologist, talks about assessment and treatment of interpersonal violence and traumatic stress. I guess she's going to testify about grooming and MOs that pedos use to target children. Grooming. Childhood essay. This is all good expert testimony. Grooming is generally believed to fall into 5 stages. A lot of people don't understand grooming, and that's why I was shocked when, well, not shocked. Aaron Spencer's case got dismissed, but Judge Elmore did not want the jury to have an expert about grooming because she said everyone knows what grooming is. And here's the 5 stages for those of you who don't know about grooming. I know because of all the years I handled the Catholic church cases here on Long Island against the Diocese of Rockville Center on behalf of the victims and survivors of childhood clergy SA. Children with particular vulnerabilities are often targeted by perpetrators of SA. These vulnerabilities may include, but are not limited to, minors who have already experienced victimization of any kind, have psychological or chronic health difficulties, come from disadvantaged circumstances, have cognitive or intellectual disabilities, and or have a single parent family. Grooming is a strategic pattern of behaviors that can take a variety of forms and function to render the victims vulnerable to abuse, to obscure the nature of the abuse, and to build trust and attachment between the victim and their abuser. Sexual abuse of minors frequently occurs through the use of manipulation or coercion in the context of an established relational dynamic that has developed over time, rather than through the use of forcible SA. Individuals who SA minors are typically in positions of trust. Oh my God, priests, coaches, teachers, police officers leading up the program. Trust can develop between a child and an adult in a position of authority, like a police officer, due to a variety of factors, including but not limited to the power differential inherent within the relational dynamic, the officer's increased authority, professional experience, expertise, and training, the connection to the department where the officer works, the role of police officers in protecting public safety, and the child's background and experiences. Differences in size or physical strength can also contribute to a perpetrator's power and control over a victim. Other adults conveying to children their trust in adults in positions of authority can make it easier for perpetrators in these types of positions to abuse children. These factors enable the perpetrator to spend time with the child and not have that raise any sort of suspicion. Perps obtain access to a victim and then are able to isolate them for purposes of SA. And then it goes on to talk about how they build trust and attachment. They manipulate, lie, and deceive, exploit vulnerabilities. Teenagers in general are more easily manipulated than adults. And they go through all the reasons why. How they start slowly and gradually. I suggest that everyone read this. My voice is just getting really tired right now. I've been talking for almost 10 hours today. They do it gradually, so the perpetrator is able to define for the child what is and what is not normal. Yeah, this is going to be excellent testimony, talking about the dynamics of the relationship, just like I thought this would have been excellent testimony in Aaron Spencer's case had it gone to trial. I mean, we could do a whole show on only this, but at this point, we've said so many things on this stream that it's probably going to be stricken and shadow banned anyway at this point. And so let's talk about specific to this case. And this is very, very long. why it would not be consensual, the tactics of manipulation, disclosure of GRAPE. An essay is a process that occurs over time. Many people never disclose, by the way, their childhood essay. Many people never disclose. All the reasons why they wouldn't. The fear, the shame, the guilt, the dynamics of coercive control. The reasons why people may not disclose, etc. And so she's going to talk about the relationship between Farwell and Sandra Birchmore and why she thought it was normal because he groomed her and why she would be afraid to disclose it, etc. Procedural issues that they can foresee, witness sequestration. They would like to exempt 2 family members of Sandra's family, her aunt and her legal next of kin and her cousin. They intend to call them as witnesses, but at the beginning of the trial. Due to the anticipated length of the trial, the government proposes the court select four alternates rather than 2. Well, in Lindsay Clancy, we have 6 alternates. They're working together on that issue. And then demonstrative evidence. They have text messages they want to introduce, audio recordings of individuals reading the text messages because they're so long. They're not going to admit the recordings into evidence. And they would like to play the audio recordings for the jury. Given the large number of witnesses, the trial schedule, it just says the anticipated length of trial. Government requests the court set a trial date that provides for 3 full days and 2 half days per week. Okay, so they only want to do 3 full days of trial and 2 half days of trial per week. The interspersed half days will enable, or half days, as they say, or as Judge Canoni say, half days, the half days will enable the jurors to take a break from the intensity of the trial. The defense counsel joins in this request. XOXO, Leah Foley, the U.S. Attorney, by Elizabeth Riley, Tori Cummings, Brian Fogarty. What's the date on this? Okay, this was filed. Oh, it's right here. August 3rd. Today's what? Today's the 5th. So this has been out for 48 hours. No wonder the rats are scurrying everywhere. Everywhere. And that was 49 double-spaced pages. For your listening pleasure. Tell me the most interesting part about that document for you. Susan became a member. Welcome. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you. We went over this one. Jessica Plant, Karen's trial. Sorry at the end of cross. Yes, she did say sorry at Hank Brennan. I would have to go back and watch her testimony. It's been a long time. Thank you on the problem. It's me. Overruled sit down says, is it me or are the feds using their own witnesses against them? Kind of sounds like it. Again, their own witnesses against their own investigators. It kind of sounds like it to me. Guarino, Jessica Hyde. Sounds like, I mean, they're still here as of April of 2026. They're not going anywhere anytime soon because they ain't got no quit. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Suze, you're amazing. Oh, that reminds me, I can gift memberships too. Let me gift some memberships too. YouTube gives me a certain number to gift, so I'll gift some memberships too. And then if you get gifted a membership tomorrow, if you come back with me to watch the Lindsay Clancy trial, you can get your special emojis. Woo woo. Okay, let's see how I do this here. Hold on. Membership gifting. Okay, I can, oh, look. They give me 10. All right. Here come 5 memberships. Welcome to the 5 randomly chosen viewers who are now memberships from me to you. Coffee time for D. View from under the bridge. Choda, I can't even read this. Choda Billy, YZY247, and just another Susie Q. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I would like to get back with Grant too. I just don't know when I'm going to have the time to do that. Yes, witness one being the baby's father. Witness one is the baby's father. Witness one voluntarily consented to give his DNA. We found that out. That's wild info. Jessica Hyde and Trooper Guarino both testifying for the United States of America against one of their own. Well, Jessica, it's not one of Jessica Jessica Hyde's own, but Guarino, Stoughton Police Officer Guarino was. I don't know where Guarino is from. You know where Guarino is? I mean, don't tell me. I don't want to know. All right, Stephon Diggs is going to sign with the Washington Commanders. Thank you, Zoni Cole. Excellent. That's good news. That's great news. I love that news for Stephon Diggs. That was another ridiculous prosecution by Norfolk County. The Stephon Diggs trial. They didn't even convene a grand jury on that one. It was just like, oh, let's try. She said so let's try it. What have we got to lose? Thank you, Teresa, Luck of the Irish, for buying me a matcha latte. I appreciate you so much. So much. And I think we're going to break this for now. I think I'm going to do the Turtle Boy stuff on a different stream because my voice is shot. I can't talk anymore. And I think it just deserves its own stream. And you guys were saying there was something else about emotion. So all of that can be covered in one fell swoop. And I just don't know. It's a full day tomorrow on Clancy. I know I got to rest my voice now. Go get some Manuka honey and whatever else. You guys once told me pickle juice is really good for your voice and for opera singers. And I actually drank some pickle juice one day before stream. And I was so thirsty for like 3 days after. That was like the worst advice I've ever gotten. Some of you might swear by that, but it's not a thing. It can't be a thing for me. It can't be a thing for me. I can't do it. But if you have any other thoughts for the vocal fry, aside from, I don't know, I've got Manuka honey, throat spray. Nothing really works. The throat coat tea is good, though. I got to go have some throat coat tea. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me for so many hours today. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy, stay safe. Thank me for giving 5 more memberships. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Once again, back at it for day 8 of the Lindsay Clancy trial. I love you guys so much, and I love my mods so much, and I could never do that without them. Peace out. I'll see you real soon. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., same bad time, same bad channel. Peace.